Laguna, Seca.
Are you ready?
2 hours and 40 minutes on this 2.25 mile track.
Pressure's on. When you go to Laguna, you really have to be on your A game.
This racetrack is not only iconic, it's very unique. The end ready here in the Rahal straightaway, and then down through the corkscrew. What a plunge that is.
Look side by side for the lead into the corkscrew.
Almost kind of like a roller coaster.
It's like someone just takes the road away from you. 180 feet of elevation change between the exit of the corkscrew and down to that final corner, turn 11. Multi-class racing at its absolute best.
Oh, here comes Vantor!
Vantor rubbing elbows with Tandy. Tandy sends it. Vantor's off the road. Expect action, chaos every step of the way.
So the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca round of the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship brings us the 4th different type of circuit in 4 rounds to start the 2026 season. The high banks of the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, we respected the bumps of the Sebring, the Mobile One 12 Hours of Sebring, and then the shortest race of the year on the streets of Long Beach. It's 2.23 miles and 11 corners around the circuit here, and all you need to know about the history of this place is the names of the corners. Turn 2 isn't turn 2, it's the Andretti hairpin. Then we've got the run up the Rahal straight to turns 8 and 8A, which is, of course, the corkscrew. It'll be the Zanardi corkscrew this weekend for reasons that you will understand if you've been watching the news. And then down through Rainey to the bottom of the circuit. John Hindhaugh and Ryan Marine in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. Arjuna Kangaparty joins us on pit road, and that's where we go now to make sure everyone has got off the pit lane. Throwback liveries for our safety cars and for a number of cars in the field. Arjuna, have all 33 got off pit road?
Indeed they have. I love being the purveyor of good news. And John, let's run through some of the storylines. Let's start at the very tail end of the field, though, with GTD. Pole sitters, Conquest Racing, faster in qualifying than some of our GTD Pro contenders. And so when I talk to the team, the key to the race for them, let's not lose it. And one of the factors to think about, they've got a slightly shorter fuel hose in the pit stops, and so nailing their marks and avoiding a couple of seconds either side of adjusting the car is going to be crucial. A little bit further up through the field, let's go to the prototypes, where, of course, throwback liveries for the Porsche Penske Motorsports Apple Computer liveries that look absolutely resplendent. Only 2 hours down the road from Mountain View and their headquarters, but their qualifying pace maybe not where they expect their race pace to be. And instead it was the Wayne Taylor Cadillacs at the very front of the field that was able to hold on to pole position and will lead us to the green.
Arjuna Kangaparty in the pit lane. Now, our Brembo brake facts for WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Our difficulty rating is 3 out of 5. That is data-based. Elevation changes, mixed grip surfaces, potential for dust onto the circuit. Most difficult braking point, turn 2, the Andretti hairpin. 9 braking areas here, consistent performance and stability key across a wide range of corner speed. The turn 2 braking dynamics, 165 miles an hour down to 50. 115 miles an hour dropping. Brake temperature 1300 Fahrenheit to spike. My goodness me. And the drivers are experiencing something like 2.5 G of braking force. Front axle brake bias key here because of a lot of downhill braking. Now, just think about the corkscrew. Braking considerations there. 59 feet of elevation drop in just 450 feet of lateral movement. That's a 5.5 floor drop, 5.5 story drop. And that entry is uphill, which means you've got to get the rear bias there and then switch to front bias. Oh my goodness me, there's so much going on IMSA's braking technology partner, Brembo, supplying full braking systems and components to most of the WeatherTech Championship and yesterday's Michelin Pilot Challenge teams here at Monterey. 11 GTP cars being led round by a front row that is all Cadillac. Coming to the line, 2 hours and 40 minutes, the first normal race of the season, and Louis Delatraz takes the opportunity to jump away and get a very nice run down into the first corner. Down the inside, Dries van Toor was looking at Nick Yellerly there, but he's backed out of that. Discretion, the better part of Valle Rosgun in 6th position for the heart of racing, full second closer to the front of the field than they were here last year. Now the GT battles, the GTD pros come to the line, and it's Jack Hawksworth down the inside as we've already had a spin for Tom Blomqvist in the GTPs. Bit of dust being kicked up by one of the Corvettes. I think that was Antonio Garcia in the 2000 livery in this throwback weekend. But he's got back on the track in that car and continues in GTD. Lorenzo Patrese was in the pole for Conquest Racing for the Ferrari number 34. The leaders already coming through the corkscrew down through Rainey to turn 10 and 11. It's a quick lap here, Ryan Marine, and the leaders have pretty much got through it, but it's going to be a comeback drive now for Acura Meyershank Racing. Tom Blomqvist facing the wrong direction early on, and I think he got a little bit of help on that as he was going into turn 3. Yeah, cut across the front of the Aston Martin and ended up, oh, actually he hit the wall on driver's left.
That was a pretty good whack to the 60 car. Quite frankly, I'm surprised it's been able to drive away, and Tom Blomqvist has kept the car out on track as well. Does show a few battle scars on the right-hand side. Looks like maybe that diffuser at the splitter, I should say, at the front, a little bit dislodged, but by and large, considering how big of an impact that was, John, quite lucky to get away with it, still being able to run, but at the back of the GTP class now.
Yeah, absolutely correct. A much bigger hit. I thought he'd just been spun around as the GT cars came to the green flag there. 2 hours and 40 minutes, as we mentioned, at IMSA Radio if you want to get in touch with us. Hello to Thomas Rieker, to Thomas Pitts as well. He's watching as he's getting ready for his road trip to Spa WEC this weekend. There'll be a few of these drivers there. And hearing that there is a mechanical black flag early on. Now that means come to the pit road for a mechanical issue as soon as possible for Aston Martin and for Rory van der Steur in the number 19. Wow, that's early on. Now, is he trailing something? Is the bodywork? Is there some fluid coming out of that? I don't have that at the moment. We'll try and get some more detail for you if you want to join the conversation at IMSA Radio on X. And Thomas, we wish you the best for your run down to Spa next weekend. We'll be joining you there for our coverage, of course, courtesy of Genesis and new GV70 Electric. Looking forward to that. Oh, it's, well, let's go down to our pit lane reporter and to Arjuna Kangapati, who is seeing a very bizarre problem for van der Steur.
I think you saw it too, John. The rear deck lid, I guess you would call it, on this Aston Martin has come up, and I think there's some other part of the bodywork that is also being raised right now. So clearly something contact related that's struck the Van der Steur Racing Aston Martin that has Scott Andrews joining Rory van der Steur for this weekend. They've just started to reattach part of the bodywork. They'll attach that deck lid once again, and they'll send that car back out. But my word, let's see how significant of impact on the race strategy this will be for them. No fuel, no tires. It is only fixing the damage currently that they are focused on.
Yeah, there's an air duct at the very back of that, almost like the hatchback part, the rear windscreen part. Underneath that, there is an air outlet on there, on that Aston Martin Vantage. And that, I think, ducts air from the back of the car and also helps cool the rear diff on that car. Sorry, the diff of that car. Where else would you have a diff on those GT racing cars? And looked, Arjuna, as if there's some damage on the back of that car, as if it's taking a whack from behind.
A gaping chasm on the just above the rear diffuser, John. So yeah, definitely contact related. They did need to replace the deck lid. It wasn't the same unit that went on, so clearly the connector's damaged, but off and away for Van der Stor.
Wherever you're joining us around the world, good to have your company. I know there's a lot of people up early over in the Antipodes who are tuned in, watching in sound and vision. I wonder if we can work out what happened. Maybe it was up at the corkscrew. The number 4 Chevy Corvette going very slowly for Tommy Milner, and he's dropped right into the middle of the GTD field as he couldn't get any power coming down the hill there, because race cars tuned in, Max UK tuned in, JTR tuned in, wishing the best to the boss. That's Nick Tandy, who's racing with Harry King and EO Racing this weekend. Joe Tandy Racing then tuned in right in the middle of the United Kingdom. Ryan Marine, good start at the front of the field. Actually, I'll come back to you on that in a moment, because Max Esselstyn is coming in the RLL McLaren. Let's go back to the pit lane. He's Arjuna.
I'm being kept busy, John, but this is not what I was thinking. I was trying to put 2 and 2 together and wonder if there was damage to the front, but no, this McLaren looks pristine, almost factory fresh. What they are doing, though, is sticker Michelin tires, so I wonder if a slow puncture or something has impacted them. Here, off the air jacks it goes, and away the Papaya McLaren rolls, already with Van der Stor Racing, by the way, having to come down pit lane for a drive-through penalty as well.
That was blocking. That was for the 23 Aston Martin. That's the prototype. So why did Van der Stor come down the pit lane? That was people over the wall before the car stopped, I think, Ryan.
Exactly right. They had a crew member over the wall before the car arrived in the pit lane, so the day goes even worse for Van der Stor Racing. Did want to clear up a couple of things. The incident at the beginning of the race between Ross Gunn and Tom Blomqvist, that was reviewed. The contact was ruled incidental, so no action taken there, but there was a warning for blocking just handed to Ross Gunn as he tries to fend off the challenge from Kevin Estra here in the opening stages.
It's the voice of Ryan Moraine, who's with me, John Hindhoff, in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast broadcast centre. Hello to Rhino in Australia before he goes to work on a Monday morning. And Alan Prosser as well, of course. Elliot Lindemood tuned in as well. Looks like the numbers 6 and 7 Porsche Penske Motorsport 963s are beginning to move through the field. They're up to 6th and 7th for the 6 and 7. That's handy. Don't confuse me anymore. But Louis Delatraz is holding a half a second lead. Jack Aitken last time around put in the fastest lap of the race, a 15.315. I'd expect that to come down just a little bit. We haven't talked about the weather here, Ryan, to be honest. It's a little more overcast than we might have expected on the Golden Coast. Nowhere near as bad as the IMSA competitors had over in Miami, where the Porsche Carrera Cup North America second race of the weekend didn't happen because of weather issues. But with the track temperature 86 Fahrenheit and in the air just 59, that's 15 Celsius and 30 Celsius on the track. This is not what some of the teams were expecting. I think the key word this weekend is adapt and survive, isn't it?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of different conditions, haven't we, over the course of the last few days. There was a pretty sunny stretch where the track temp was well up into triple digits, but much cooler now because we've had the cloud cover. Also had some rain overnight, which is not a common occurrence. Laguna Seca translates to dry lagoon. the name says it all. You don't expect a whole lot of rain when you come here to this part of the world, but we had some overnight, so all of these curveballs being thrown at the teams. But look, they're the best in the business, and they'll adapt.
We were talking about our Porsche keys to the race earlier on, Ryan, and we'll revisit those in a moment, but let's get an early view from down in the pit lane. Fred Vervish from the Ford camp, from the Ford Racing Ford Mustang GT3 camp, is talking to Arjuna right now.
The Ford Mustang, not maybe the strongest around WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca historically, but bringing its Evo package. Fred Vervish, have you felt that improvement here as we begin this 2-hour, 40-minute race?
Yeah, it was definitely, let's say, not a strong track for us, Laguna, in the past, and it seems like our Evo works really well. I think Chris did a mega job, and now we have to see if we can keep that pace through the race.
Obviously, you've been learning the car in the last couple of years here, but have you started to feel the surface of the track degrade as well? How's the life of the tire across the stint?
Yeah, that's, I think, a very big challenge for everyone here. It looked like they repaved a couple of corners, but my feeling is we have a bit less grip than last year, and I think it's every year like that, but that's my feeling.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you.
Frederick Vervish down in the pit lane with Arjuna. Ford's at the moment in third with Chris Meese and Ben Barker in seventh in GTD Pro, but he has had a couple of GTDs go through him. We'll have some VP Racing in race updates for you, and hearing the drama, the first drama in GTP. Ryan Marine is for Philippe Albuquerque, who's moving slowly.
Yeah, that's the teammate to the leader of the race. A puncture, we understand. You can see it left rear, and that tire's starting to come apart. The bodywork is shaking on the car. Really got to nurse that back and try and limit the damage here at this stage. A lot of really important sensors are located there in that wheel well. The good news is he's to the pit entrance now and should be to the team to get that replaced. But man, a big setback here early in the going for the number 10.
And they have lost the lead lap already. And that is the nature of this track. Just a 75-second race lap here. How much damage has been done? Let's head to the pit lane. Arjuna Kangapardi is watching that. They'll fuel that car. What about the damage to the left rear, Arjuna?
They took a quick look, but at no point did any bodywork get brought over the wall. I can see a bit of fraying at the edge of the bodywork, John, but I think Felipe's done a remarkable job to nurse that car back to pit lane with the carcass of the tire flapping around.
Arjuna Kangapardi watching that unscheduled pit stop for Philippe Albuquerque. Left rear issue was that contact base. Did he drop the left-hand side Michelin's over a curb and maybe puncture the inside tyre shoulder as he came back on? Not sure. Hello to Elliot Lindemood. He says, I've been to Laguna Seca over 30 times, and it's I can only remember getting rain once during the World Superbike race several years ago. Other times it's either been boiling hot or pretty cool. Richard Kelly tuned in from Ireland watching those 963s through the corkscrews. Reminds me how much I'll miss them flat through Eau Rouge next week. Yeah, we'll have coverage for you, but no Porsches there, I'm afraid. Ray Lathern is in Cape Town, South Africa, tuning in and enjoying this throwback weekend, watching the cars twist and go down through the corkscrew. Brilliant. Arnage Rob looking forward to this one. And the throwback liveries. Albuquerque's not up to speed. He's staying out of the way of everyone as they come through. At IMSA Radio, by the way, if you want to get in touch with us here in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. But I am a bit worried about that Philippe Albuquerque Cadillac winter. Has the wheel not gone on properly? Aaron and I having the same thought at almost the same time. I think he's going to have to come back into the pit lane. This is double jeopardy for the Dex Imaging blue-fronted Cadillac number 10. And Arjuna Kankapani, I think you are going to see this car again for Philippe Albuquerque. Something not right with that car.
And I think more worrying, John, I think they're going to go straight back to the garage based on what I've heard on the radio. And yes, they'll pull left and into the paddock area. So big dramas for our pole sitter. It was looking like Wayne Taylor Racing finally getting some momentum in their Cadillac at a track where they've seen success in the past. But on the throwback weekend, it won't be a throwback to a win for that number 10 machine at the very least.
So, Ryan, that is exactly what Wayne Taylor didn't need, but the good news is it was the least best place of the Cadillacs in their two cars. It's still 1 and 2 for the Cadillac V-Series R at the moment, with Louis Delatraz leading from Jack Aitken at the front of the field.
Well, to say that they've been snake-bitten doesn't even begin to explain how difficult the start to the year has been for Philippe Albuquerque and Ricky Taylor. 3 races, 11th, 11th, 10th. This is the 4th race. They find themselves 11th, have to get back out and hope for some attrition to even begin to dream of a finish better than 11th place. It has just been a horror show, quite frankly, to start the season for them, and you really have to feel for that pair because, you know, in some cases it's been self-inflicted, in some cases it's been poor luck. You go back to Sebring, actually that should have been a podium, but they were disqualified post-race, and so nothing to show for their efforts through almost 4 races now.
Now, let's see if we can work out what happens with Philippe Albuquerque. I think there may have been some contact. We're going to try and find that with our team up at Concord, North Carolina. It was side by side, and in fact it was all in that first schmozzle with the Acura number 60 and the Aston Martin, the Valkyrie from Heart of Racing at turn 3. That was the first lap, and it looks like Philippe Albuquerque went off the track and came back on again just under the walkover bridge. My speculation that was an inside shoulder that got damaged. I think that might have happened right there. Meantime, the leading pair picking their way through traffic at the same part of the track, now through turn 4, heading to the uphill left-hander at turn 5. Love this corner. Let the ball help you out, get on the power nice and early, point the car underneath the WeatherTech VP Racing Bridge, turn into turn 6. It's pretty much blind as you head up the rear hull straight, as you go through that little right kink and into the top of the corkscrew. Left, right, bang, the car hits the floor, and then down through Rainey, lift off in the middle, and then back on again straight away for turn number 10 down the hill. Again, a corner that's banked positively towards the apex, and then to the slowest corner on the track at turn 11, all the way down through the gearbox. And these two Cadillac V-Series cars racing themselves hard, but pulling away, Ryan Marine, from the Acura, the BMW, the Aston, and the 2 Porsche Penske Motorsport cars that are the rest of the field. Nearly 5 seconds between the leader and the rest of the field, 4 seconds between the second place car and the rest of the field.
These two have established themselves as the class of the field, but of the 2, it's the second place car of Aitken that has the fastest lap. Through the traffic, Aitken looked like he was a little bit quicker, and even now in clear air, he was looking threatening just about 1 lap ago at this time. The troubling thing for Delatraz in the leading car is Aitken appears to be quicker, and he's also saving more energy. I'm looking at the live telemetry. Delatraz is in a 2% energy hole relative to Aitken. Aitken actually is about as good as anybody in the GTP class, so he's doing a great job of being fast, but also conserving that energy, and that could really help shorten a pit stop. It could also help open some pit windows, perhaps.
Hello to Sam in Birmingham in the Midlands of England. Clark Duffy trying to convert her from Formula 1. You don't have to convert her from Formula 1 to sports car racing. Just add it to the motorsport lexicon. Hello, Clark. Hello, Sam. Hope you're enjoying the coverage. In Warren, Ohio, Tom Marshallek is watching, listening, and trying to complete a Lego Rexy. Did you start that during the Rolex 24? I think you did. Back in January as well. Thank you to everybody who is shouting up and telling us where you are around the world at IMSA Radio. We'll try and keep an eye on where you are tuned in from in sound and vision. Let's give you your first VP in race update in GTD. Lorenzo Patrese leads from pole position for Conquest. He's more than halfway up, or pretty much exactly halfway up the GTD Pro field, and leads in the Conquest 34 Ferrari, that's in the number 34 blue and white car, that is, isn't it? Second is Danny Formal. He's got Sandy Mitchell between him and the leader in one of the Pro cars, and Dudu Barrichello for Hartnett and Aston Martin is third in GTD Pro. Jack Hawksworth for Lexus RCF is 1.2 seconds to the good on Paul Miller's BMW, the number 1 car, and Chris Meeks for Ford Racing is in third, another second further back, and at the front of the field, as we are on lap 11 at the moment, Louis Delatraz by 0.8 of a second from Cadillac Whelan. So 2 Cadillac teams, but not teammates. Delatraz from Aiken, and then Nick Yellowly 4 seconds further back. The leaders are on their 11th lap. Number 40, Louis Delatraz leads. VP in race update here on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. Take a deep breath. Let's try and take stock, Ryan Marine, of what is going on. Problems earlier on for Philippe Albuquerque in the Cadillac. He has dropped off the leading lap for the GTP cars, and that's going to give him some... Actually, I say that. Yes, he has. The number 60 car was spun earlier on for Tom Blomqvist there at the back of the field. In fact, Philippe Albuquerque has gone behind the wall, hasn't he? Rory van der Stur's been into the pits as well, so he's off the back of the GTD field. And Max Esterson for RLL Team McLaren has been along pit road as well with early issues. And so those are the cars who've had some chaos, shall we say, at the start of the race. But 2 Cadillacs at the front of the field pulling away.
Yeah, they are absolutely pulling away. Looking at their lap times here, the last couple of laps, let's compare. They did a 1:16.5 in the case of Delatraz and a 1:16.7 in the case of Aiken. Actually, not that much quicker than Nick Yellowly and Dries Vanthoor, who are 3rd and 4th. That's more or less stabilized at between 4.5, 5 seconds from first back to that battle for 3rd and 4th. Ross Gunn, though, is starting to drop off of Vanthoor, and again, trying to fend off the challenge from the Porsches, which are running in lockstep in 6th and 7th at the moment. In the GT classes, want to give a shout to one of the big movers here in the early stages. That's Jake Walker, started 10th up to 7th in the Gradient Mustang. Really nice stint from him so far. And how about our GTD pole sitter? We talked about the fact that he's quicker than in qualifying than the bulk of the GTD Pro field, and we're seeing that. He started behind all of the Pro cars. He would be 6th in Pro right now as he runs. And Danny Formal isn't too far behind either. That's the Wayne Taylor Racing Lamborghini Huracan, the older car that's been really quick here this weekend, and Formal has been a standout in Lamborghini Super Trofeo across 2 races this weekend as well. So he's in good form. Right now, that car's in a really good spot.
Yeah, good point. And if we do have the safety car out to close up the field, it will be GTPs ahead of GTD Pros, ahead of GTDs. They will split the field back to that. Harry Pike is in England at a sleepover and got his mates interested in IMSA, cheering for the Porsches this weekend. Joseph Dungy watching in Phoenix, Arizona. Go Team Cadillac and Team Corvette, obviously a bow tie fan. Well, Jack Aiken is leading in the GTP points as they win by 52 over the Porsche number 7 squad, who sit in 7th at the moment. Then the Nick Yellowly Renger van der Zande squad is 93 back, and Lauren Heinrich on his own in that number 5 car. Well, it's not on his own this weekend. Timon van der Helmer is driving that, but in the points, that's how they stand at the moment. Richard Kelly asks a very good point. Are the Porsche Penske cars still carrying the big weight penalty from last race on the streets of Long Beach? They have lost 16 kilos. The JDC cars lost 8 kilos. Richard, and hi to Ricardo, who's watching at the track here above turn 5. It is in GTD Pro, 122 point lead for Neil Verhagen and Conor De Filippi over the Tandy and King. Nick Tandy and Harry King 77, Eorcar and Katzberg and Milner in third. Hello to Felix Tandy, Nick's son, who is already a British champion in karting. He's being allowed to stay up late on this bank holiday weekend over in the UK. More from you on the socials at IMSA Radio on X. Let's get down to the pit lane and pick up some more atmosphere. Here's Arjuna.
Good start for Jake Walker in the Gradient Racing Silver Ford. Corey Lewis as co-driver has had a pretty good start. What have you been thinking watching on from the sidelines as this race has gotten underway?
Yeah, no, Jake's been doing an awesome job so far and had a decent start. The main thing is just trying to maintain and deal with the prototype traffic. Obviously, we don't want to be in their way either, but just trying to minimize any risk that we can. And Jake's been doing a great job, very consistent lap times, and everybody at the Gradient Racing team here, we've been progressing with our Ford Mustang GT3 cars. So I'm proud of our efforts so far, and I'm proud of how we started. Just a long way to go yet, but so far so good.
You won here back in 2019, and we have talked about how the surface has started to go back a bit more to maybe what it was then. Is that something you agree with?
Yeah, no, definitely. Obviously, the repave helped for a bit, but we are starting to transition back, and the tire dag is a serious thing. And yeah, flashbacks to 2019 were great times, and that was one of our easier victories too. Which some days like that are nice and far few in between. But no, we've been working really hard here, and we just got to keep our head down and keep pushing. Long way to go, but you just never know.
Cool conditions make it easy to stay cool behind the wheel, I would assume. But what does that do out there on track for the tires?
It certainly helps our Michelin tires for sure. It keeps things cooler than normal. You normally hear is a bit hot, but you know, so far so good. Cooler temps, we welcome that in the car too. So all is good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And while we were in that interview, there was a change of lead. Ryan down at the first proper corner, turns 2 and 3, the Andretti hairpin.
It all started out of 11. Aitken got a great run, went alongside to the outside of Louis Delatraz, and Louis got really loose as he got pinched down to the apex down in the Andretti hairpin. I say pinched, it's not like there was anything untoward, it was just close racing, and I think they made some side-by-side contact on the replay we were given. Thought I heard a thunk of the two cars, the two Cadillacs coming together. Aitken, though, has now made good his escape, John. Just 1 lap ago, he took the lead. Now it's a 3-second advantage over Delatraz. It looks like the Action Express car, Whelen Engineering car, only getting stronger.
If you're wondering where the number 10, Wayne Taylor Cadillac is, it's been behind the wall. It is now back on the pit lane and will be back in the race in a moment. Hello to Lee Jordan. He says, I am tired, but are the fronts of the GTP cars lifting through the corkscrew? Yes, they are. If you look carefully, the front wheels are getting off the ground and then slamming back down in a pretty angry way, to be honest. Hello to Jojo Monks in Jacksonville, Florida. What a lovely part of the world. Watching whilst doing yard work at IMSA Radio. If you want to get in touch with us, Thomas Frederick, always a pleasure to have cars on my screen, commentary in my ears. I'm at Liverpool, cheering me up after a certain Premier League football match today. I haven't seen Match of the Day yet. I'll watch that later on, no spoilers. Thank you, Thomas, and hi to Joe Murray, who's cheering on Porsche, Penske's and Multimatic Mustangs from Norfolk in the UK, up on the in the eastern part of England, been marshalling in Snetterton today. Thank you for that, and particularly to all of our corner workers, marshals and officials, giving your most precious gift, the gift of your time, so that we can go motor racing. In that number 3, Antonio Garcia at the moment for Corvette Racing. sitting in 5th in GTD Pro, and right up his tailpipes, Lorenzo Petresi, sketchy coming through the field as well, as the AO Racing machine goes past. That must have been Ben Barker, wasn't it, in the 64. Harry King, very well thought of at Porsche, multiple British, or Carrera Cup GB, I should say, champion. Just checking on one or two of the other cars at the moment. Sheena Monk for Myers Riley Motorsport, the Mustang GTT, is in 8th position in GTD. In that number 16, the dark red, white and black Mustang, but is leading the bronze category at the moment. And that was indeed for position a moment or two ago, with Harry King and getting ahead of Tonio Garcia. And it was the 65, Chris Meese, actually, that they were passing, because he's come into the pit lane with another flat tyre. Again, I think this is going over the curbs, Ryan. We've seen this before, dropping over the curbs, not necessarily going off the track, but it's coming back on that catches the inside shoulder.
Well, that would explain why we've seen this rash of punctures here. Could also be some gravel getting on the track causing problems, but whatever the cause, this was a contending car. This car was running in 3rd place at the time. Went plummeting down the order. Harry King went by, Antonio Garcia went by, and then we saw why, as he had to make that trip down the pit lane. Pretty quick work by the Multimatic crew to get the tire change done and top the car off with fuel, but now they're going to need to try and think their way back into this race, because on pure pace, they're in a really bad spot.
Yeah, our BDO Knows Strategy Award. We'll talk about that towards the end of the race. And don't forget, whilst the checkered flag ends the race, it's only the start of the conversation this weekend, because we want your contributions to Michelin Post-Race Tech. Hashtag Michelin PRT. Oh my goodness. Side swipe from Julian Andlauer on one of the Mustangs. There was contact on the 65. That's where the puncture came from. Good spot, Ryan, going into turn number 6. And Andlauer might get called for that, actually, as he dived up the inside. We've also got a Corvette. That's Tommy Milner in the pit lane. Chris Meese has rejoined. Let's go down to Arjuna in the pit lane.
I was just wandering my way over to try and catch up on what happened to that Corvette Pratt Miller crew. It was that left rear puncture, though, as you spotted with the contact with the Porsche Penske Motorsport machine. See if I can grab a quick word with Tommy Milner. Tommy, what happened?
Well, it starts with a bad qualifying on my part. That puts us in the back there. I just got hit by the lead GTD car in the first lap and a little bit of damage in the rear. And then in the corkscrew, the McLaren, I mean, I wasn't there, but there was a bit of room, and then there was very little room, and I had to back out of it, and I got an anti-stall, so I lost drive for, at that part of the race, of course. I was only 2 seconds, let's say, but 5, 6, 7 GTD cars get by me, so yeah, that's frustrating for sure. But like I said, bad qualifying on my part puts us back there and exposes you to those kind of things. So the Corvette feels great. Felt super fast. All the changes we made in practice was good. So yeah, Nicky's in the car now. He's obviously very fast. We're off strategy as well. So that'll be our, not our only hope for sure, because with the way IMSA is, we get one caution, we're back in it again. So yeah, we'll see what happens here.
Thank you, Tommy.
Yep.
Well, Brady and Maryland will be happy, because the number 10 car from Cadillac is back on the track after that damage, but is down a lap or two now in Bedfordshire. Agent K's watching. That's Nick Tandy Country, the Bedfordshire Bullet, and King Stag UK. Steve Tarrant. Hello, Steve. Nice to know that you're tuned in as well. And very kind of Formula One to move the race up 3 hours so it didn't clash with Laguna, says Daz. Well, yeah, I haven't finished watching that yet because I was prepping for this race, so no spoilers, please, if you don't mind. And Plymouth and Devon also tuned in with Alban Quinn. Williams support Andrew listening in Perth in Australia, which is already into tomorrow. A feisty opening half an hour, 35 minutes in fact. Jack Aitken now pulled out a 4-second lead to Louis Delatraz in second, Nick Yellowly in third. The top three still only separated by 5.5 seconds, and traffic is an issue here. We mentioned it in our Porsche keys to the race, and I wonder, oh, well, that's interesting. The contact between the Ford Mustang number 65 and the number 7 Julian Andlau Porsche has been put onto the Ford, and that will be a drive-through. Okay, that's for me that's an interesting call. I'm not sure what the Ford was meant to do. They were sort of holding their line, and surely well, in all the drivers' briefings I've been to in IMSA or anywhere else, it's up to the faster car to get by cleanly, which it appeared they did not. However, that is the call from race control. Remember, one of the jobs I never want to do at a racetrack is have to make those calls from race control, and they do have more angles than we get to see here in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. So Chris Meese will be back down the pit lane for a drive-through. Ryan Marie.
Yeah, I'd like to see that again, because my first thought was the same as yours, but like you said, there's probably more angles to it than what we've seen. A couple of things to note. Just had a change for third in GTP. Dries Van Thor around Nick Yellowly for the final podium spot in GTP, and I think we've also seen the first strategic dice rolls of the race so far. So we heard from Tommy Milner. He mentioned they were off strategy. They came in again just a little while ago to try and do something different, having lost the track position after their issues early in the race. They're very much on the fringe, but they're going to try and do this in one more stop from here. And I think a similar story for the Tom Blomqvist started car. It's now Colin Brown driving. They also pitted with 2 hours, 9 minutes to go. I don't know that they can do it in one more, but they're going to at least then try and have a shorter final stop and use that to try and get some additional track position. But two cars that got their races derailed really early on are forced to try something different here, and let's keep an eye on them and see if they can use this to salvage a decent result.
Closest battle for a major position is in GTD. Lorenzo Patrese in the Conquest number 34. The blue and white Ferrari just going through turn 4 now has the dark-coloured Danny Formal driven Dex Imaging Lamborghini Huracan pretty much in his wheel tracks as they head up the hill at turn 5. And they are working their way through traffic. Hello to Spencer from my hometown, Sunderland. He says, I've already watched too much racing this weekend. You can't have too much racing on a weekend. Timon van der Helme in the pit lane, and Arjuna is watching the JDC Miller Porsche 963 stop.
It's scrubbed Michelin tyres going on. I wonder if they'll warm up slightly better in these cooler conditions. And Lauren Heinrich gets strapped into the car, but a crucial mistake off the air jacks before the right front tyre was actually affixed to the car. They'll finally be able to release it, but that's one of those costly mistakes at the end of the race, John, that you can get away with slightly earlier on as JDC Miller Motorsports gamble and throw Lauren Heinrich out onto the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Coming down to 2 hours remaining. You kind of want to get to somewhere where you've got 100 minutes to go to split that if you can and get fifths out of your fuel. The VP Racing fuel leaders coming through traffic again. Jack Aitken at the front now has 6.2 seconds. Aitken at the moment is working the traffic brilliantly. And Max Esterson in the RLL team McLaren. Brendan Iribe just up the road, about 9 seconds up the road, but Max in the RLL car has made a pit stop already. Nicky Katzberg behind him as they've crossed the line. Max coming up on the Aston that's the number 19 car of Rory van der Steur, who's another lap behind him. So one or two GT and prototype cars, Ryan, that have fallen off the lead lap and are going to need some help with a pass under full course yellow safety cars to get back into the fight.
Exactly, so that's one example of it. The Dragon Speed car, they've been struggling for pace, especially with Henrik Hedman, the bronze driver in that lineup here this weekend. They're several laps down already, and we're also approaching 40 minutes gone by here, so we are getting close to the minimum drive time, 45 minutes in GTD expiring. That's just over 4 minutes away at this stage. So let's keep an eye on the pit lane there, where we might see a couple of teams on the GTD side start to gamble with strategy once they get to that minimum drive time requirement.
Hello to Joa, listening and watching from the northwestern coast of Norway. I have no Norwegian to fire into you, but thank you for tuning in. Gabrielle from Romania tuned in, Rebecca and Guy on YouTube in Derbyshire listening, and Sevilla in Spain tuned in. Hello to Charlie there. A truly international audience for the International Motorsports Association event here at the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. We are under 2 hours to go, and still that battle at the front of GTD with Lorenzo Patrese going down into the first big braking area at the hairpin, the Andretti hairpin, the number 34 Conquest racing car. And right there in front of him, Antonio Garcia, Harry King, Neil Verhagen and Jack Hawksworth are all the GTD Pro cars. It doesn't matter to Lorenzo Patrese, and the Ferrari doesn't know it either, because the performance potential is identical whether it's a Pro car or a GTD car, and they've got the leader coming past them as well, as Cadillac Whelan's Jack Aitken works his way through to turn 6, dives to the inside, and the 13 Autosport Ori Fadani driven car goes a little bit wide. Here's an opportunity for a pass for position in that category. Garcia up the outside into the corkscrew, but can't get by Harry King in the EO racing car. And Sketchy, the green and white number 77 Porsche, down the hill to turn number 10, holds on to that third place. Now down through the gearbox. Listen to the Corvette go down through the box. Back on the power, on the front straight for the mid-engined Corvette under the Mission Bridge, as we have Louis Delatraz in from second place, Arjuna Kankapani.
5% more energy used, 7 seconds down the road from race leader in the Cadillac Whelan number 31. Louis Delatraz is going to get out, and Jordan Taylor will jump in. Remember, these are identical cars. The only difference will be the driving style and maybe a couple of minor differences on the setup as well. It is going to be a set of sticker Michelin tires that go onto this number 40. And why is that important? Well, we talked about it yesterday in qualifying, John. There are a limited number of sets that these teams in GTP can use in both qualifying and the race. It's a tidy pit stop, though, as off and away the 40 go.
On the pit lane speed limiter until the bridge, which is now through the RFID Michelin tyre readers, and Jordan Taylor is out. Accelerates up off the brow, then braking. Cold tyres here, be careful. Left, 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 left. Put the right-hand Michelins over the line, but now rejoins the track right alongside one of the Corvettes going through there. That will have been the number 4 Corvette, won't it? Yes, it will, going through there. So, Ryan, your thoughts on the first 45 minutes or thereabouts of this race?
Well, it settled down. It settled into a rhythm finally. I was wondering if it ever would. The beginning of the race was crazy, and Arjuna was having to stay on his toes. It seemed like every time we covered off one catastrophe for a team, another one popped up for another, and he had to go hustling down to the other end of the pit lane. But we're starting to see the strategy play out here. That pit stop from the Wayne Taylor team a moment ago, they are the first ones to come in where they are firmly in their window to do this on one more stop. And I can say that with some confidence, even though that car has been heavier on the energy usage than the others, they still had roughly a third of their energy available to them when they came into the pits, and we were over two-thirds of the way, over two-thirds of an hour into this race, if that makes sense. So that tells me that they can do an hour plus, and so they can do this then in one more stop from here. But they elected to come in on the front end of it, which is quite interesting, and to get Louis out. Louis has been the quick guy in that car through the bulk of the weekend up to this point, and really interesting to see that they've elected to go ahead and put Jordan in at this stage, maybe with Louis struggling somewhat in race conditions.
Does that mean Louis gets back in at the end, or does Jordan take it to the end? I mean, there's no issue with driver time there, right?
That's correct, yeah. It could go either way. That's up to the teams. Okay, we are at the point where drive time has expired for the GTD teams. The 45 minutes just elapsed, and with that, it's a raft of GTD cars making the trip to the pits.
Hello to Sems in Cairo in Egypt. Always Laguna is my favourite track. Is there a more legendary US road circuit? Oh, answers on a postcard at IMSA Radio. Arjuna, you've got a whole raft of GT cars.
And it's not just those with bronze drivers who have come in, it's including the Heart of Racing Aston Martin and the Turner Motorsports BMW M4, as well as the Vassar Sullivan number 12 winners, of course, on the streets of Long Beach. It's a slow stop, though, for the 13 Autosport Corvette. They've put Matt Bell into the car, but there's an issue getting the door actually latched, I think, John, or maybe something with the seatbelt, because they're looking in the cockpit right now and trying to assist the driver. Of the bronzes, by the way, Sheena Monk's done a great job in the Riley Ford Mustang to be at the front, but chased down by the Inception Ferrari. The driver change there sees Felipe Fraga take over that red and white Ford Mustang.
Incredible stuff as the whole order will be shaken off. Sheena Monk in the pit lane with the number 16, the dark red, beautiful dark red and gloss black and white Mustang. Sheena has jumped out of that car. The number 16 then already out of the pit lane. Felipe Fraga has taken over the Myers Riley Motorsports machine. Hello to everybody listening in. Kevin's in the Netherlands. Wombats dual screening, watching NASCAR at the moment. Corey Heim leading there. They've just gone to a caution. Yeah, we can multitask as well. Nathan Rutter. Shout out to Jim Cord, the whole bunch of us tuning in to watch the race. Stewie and Jay tuned in as well. And turn one at Laguna Seca here at the trackside. Hello to Richard Garcia. Thank you, Richard, for coming and supporting the IMSA event here at Laguna Seca at IMSA Radio. If you want to get in touch, we'll do a VP update in a moment when the pit stops in GT have gone through. This is good, we like it. We're seeing a whole lot of data being, oh, here's the leader in from GTD. Lorenzo Patrese looks like he's going to jump out. Albert Costa will jump in, and Arjuna is watching the stop.
And this is where we have to wonder, are the starting drivers going to get back in, or is this going to be a charge to the end for just under a 2-hour stint? Albert Costa turned 36 years of age yesterday, but I tell you, every day I see him in the paddock, he looks a day younger, and he's ready to fight for the championship. Great stint from Lorenzo Patrese as well, as they pack that fuel in. Remember, Ferrari, with a slightly shorter fuel hose, had to hit their marks, and Lorenzo did that beautifully, John.
That is a really sharp stop. Got to say, by the way, the Felipe Fraga and Sheena Monk car is a full season throwback livery, going back to a 1969 302 Boss Mustang that was originally driven by Bud Moore, the NASCAR Hall of Famer, and is one of my favourite liveries I've seen this year already. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get back to us, pit stops coming through. Albert Costa back out again, has only lost the position to Russell Ward of Winward Racing, who is yet to stop. Still waiting to see the leading GTD Pro runners come in, Ryan.
Right, that's the top 6 in GTD Pro that haven't come back in. Interesting in the GTD battle that now Ward is in, by the way, from the lead of that class. The Wayne Taylor car tried to undercut the Albert Costa car, and I'm curious to see how they cycle through.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that you get a huge advantage in the early or late pit stops here in terms of performance, but we will find out. AMG 57 back on its Michelin tyres, waiting for the fuel. The fuel should be the determining time factor. VP Racing Fuel coming in. And the Aston Martin from GTP coming in. Ross Gunn in from 4th position. This will be a full service as well. They're checking something on the right-hand side of the car, on the side pod. Ross Gunn is out. We'll just watch this before we head down for another interview. Ross Gunn already out. New set of Michelin medium tyres going on that car. Only the mediums this weekend. So driver change going on here. And that is the first of the GTP cars for a scheduled stop. Although, actually, that's not quite true. I suppose we've seen the 40 Jordan Taylor car. Very quick stop. Hartler Racing back down and away. That very stylish car with a fixed rear wing and a movable front aerodynamic device. So back out onto the track, and Roman De Angelis is back up to speed. Arjuna in the pit lane.
With Patrick Gallagher, who was also one of those big movers at the start for GTD. Patrick, how did you make your way up to 4th position at one point after starting down in 7?
Yeah, certainly we have a good BMW M4 GT3 Evo. The Turner Motorsport guys and gals gave me a good car. In the start, yeah, I mean, everybody just kind of got bottled up, and with the sealer in turn 2, I think it was going to play a little different. So everybody slid up to that white line, and I snuck up under the bottom and then rolled the outside at 3. And yeah, it was a good start. I just hope we can translate it here into a good day for Liquid Moly, Bellave Investments, Go Reynolds, and H&R Springs.
A flurry of pit stops and driver changes. Are you going to get back in, or is it Robbie into the end?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't talked to anybody yet. You're the first person I spoke to about it, so I don't know.
Thanks, Patrick. The truth serum doesn't work all the time, John.
Slow car out on track, and that's the Conquest car. It's back up to speed now. Oh my goodness, that was the leader in GTD. It was spitting flames as it, I think, lost at the engine and then restarted. Aaron Tielitz is number 12 GTD entry. That's the Lexus RCF. That car's going to get a drive through. I think the 34 lost its engine. Oh yeah, big flash of flame, Ryan, but only out of the right-hand exhaust. Something not quite right there with the car that has been leading. Albert Costa has got a very red-hot right-hand exhaust, and he's back in the pits. This is huge, and huge for the championship, Ryan.
Oh, massive. Certainly, Albert has put together a really strong season. Lorenzo Patrese deputizing for Manny Franco here this weekend, but all is not right with the 34. The Conquest team really needs to get on that to try and limit the damage, make sure it doesn't do any significant damage to the car that could cost them moving forward.
I am being covered by flames, John. They did throw some extinguishant down, but lots of fire coming out of that right exhaust, like you mentioned. A quick look into the engine bay itself as one of the crew members clambers on top. Remember, so much of this Ferrari 296 designed to be replaceable quickly if needed, but you've got to make sure you know what needs to be replaced as well. I heard on the radio that they were very concerned, asked Albert to come in instantly when they saw all of the issues. I'll see if I can get word as to what happened here, John, and to what happened to the Aston Martin Valkyrie.
Also, Corey Lewis into the pit lane, taking over the number 66 Silver Bullet from Gradient, the Ford, in with a left rear puncture. So the right exhaust bank was glowing red hot on the Conquest Ferrari. The left one was not. It was clearly over-fueling. Sticky injector, something like that, I don't know. But they've got the engine cover off. They're still looking at that. Jack Aitken still to pit from the lead of the motor race, as we have... has his lead out to now 7.3 seconds for the number 31 Whelen Cadillac, coming down to the final corner with a gaggle of cars ahead. Cameron Reid is in Hertfordshire in the UK. The start-finish line bleachers. Adam is tuned in to IMSA Radio. Marlow in the UK. Rob Jacobs as well, getting ready for his Le Mans trip in June. And RS, what a way to end a weekend full of vroom and vroom. I'd agree with that. This is not good news, Ryan, for the number 34. And championship-wise, Conquest Racing have been right up at the sharp end.
Yes, this Costa came in what, 5th, it looks like, in points, 156 points back, which sounds like a lot, but given the IMSA point structure, that's something you can overcome, and they were having a great weekend, obviously starting on pole here today, but doesn't look like this is going to be their day. Meantime, we've got a couple more things I could report to you. Remember, we had the puncture a moment ago for Corey Lewis in the 66. Well, there's now an incident under review. Felipe Fraga in the 16 car. That's another Mustang. They apparently came together. That's under review right now, but that might explain the puncture for the 66 when it came in. Should also point out, even before this problem for the 34, Hinman, now in the car that Danny Formal started, did get to the lead with that undercut strategy in GTD, and now holds it by about a second over Tom Gamble.
John, quick update from Conquest. Checked in with the team. They don't know what the issue is, but it's clearly something terminal, and they're going to head back to the garage and diagnose it a little bit further.
They've tried to restart the car, Arjuna, and once again they had flame out the right-hand exhaust. That's either an electronic issue or a sticky injector for me. Andlatter comes in, the best placed of the GTPs, into the pit lane for Penske Porsche Motorsport. He's out. Felipe Nasser will jump in. Standard stop. Felipe, make sure that he's not going to sit on the seat belts. Gets help from the crew member to his left-hand side. Little bit of Bondo tape going on the right front of that car, where there's clearly been a coming together. It's clear tape right over the Penske sign on the extreme right front, and they've lost the front dive plane on the right front of that car. This is the one with the blue Deer notice lights, and here's the leader in the pit lane as well. Jack Aitken saw 58 minutes. Make a note of that. 58 minutes of green flag running, Ryan, and the leader's in the pit lane. Aitken is jumping out.
And still has 8.5% energy left when he came in, or something around there. So it's not like he had to come right now, but this fits nicely into their strategy. Back to the damage on the 7. That was from the contact that caused the puncture with the 65, I think it was, earlier in the race. That's where they picked up those battle scars, and that tape also secured the front headlight, which looked loose prior to that contact.
Santon, South Africa. Ray Racing cheering on Sheldon von der Linde, of course, and Finley Parker from the south coast of England's been at Brands Hatch today. AC94 bank holiday weekend on a Sunday night in the UK, bit of a treat. North Yorkshire Wombats tuned in as well, and Chris Lazenby watching Laguna Seca while being driven back home by Laurie Southern after working GT World Challenge at Brands Hatch. Hello, Chris. And hi to Laurie, who's driving. I should say that Chris, excellent photographer, heading back up to North Yorkshire. He is watching on his computer in the passenger seat while heading back up the A1 towards Yorkshire. At IMSA Radio if you want to get in touch. Here is the drive-through for Aaron Tielitz, working on the car deemed behind the wall. And the number 12 comes through for that. Earl Bamber's gone back out in the Whelen Cadillac. Number 31, Kevin Estra into the pit lane in the Porsche. Lawrence Vantor is ready to go. Did Kevin jump out there? Front two tyres changed. New set of Michelin's going on with that spider's web pattern on. 50% recyclable material, cleaning out the intakes on that, and the VP Racing fuel, again, the determining factor. That's a great pit stop in that throwback livery with the Apple Computers rainbow stripes. Waiting, and go. And they are away. Dries Vanthoor, by the way, has got into the lead, inherited the lead in this pit stop cycle. The BMW M Team WRT number 24 M Hybrid V8 has 4.6 of its virtual fuel tank left and is in the lead of the race. They have gone really long. It's over an hour and we have our first official retirement, and it is the Wayne Taylor number 10 Cadillac. As in from second place, Acura Meyer-Shank Racing. Let's get another pit lane update. Here is Arjuna Kankapati with the orange, blue and white 76 Petroleum car.
Obviously, our most recent winners at the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach, but it's been announced that Acura will be leaving the IMSA Championship at the end of 2026. And you know, the Meyer-Shank crew alongside of Honda Racing Corporation. Remember, there's a collaboration on this 93 effort to improve the feedback loop of developing this program. They want to end on a high with a championship. They are having to pack the fuel in though, John, because of course they've gone so long. So 61, 62 minutes may be the number for the Acura as the tires smoke as off and away Renger van der Zande rolls back out onto track.
Both the BMW M Team WRT prototypes have gone really long. They're under 3%, and now Dries Vanthoor comes into the pit lane. That's impressive fuel mileage for Dries Vanthoor. Will the Belgian get out of the car? Yes, he will. And Sheldon von der Linde will get in. I am very, very impressed by that. Philippe Ain should be in this time around as well, Ryan.
Yes, I think we'll see that car in shortly because it only has 2.5% energy left in the virtual tank. And again, that energy is a combination of traditional racing fuel as well as the electrical energy harvested in the hybrid components of these race cars. Really a remarkable piece of technology, but really interesting there from the BMW team, running longer than others. And if my screen is correct, they did not do a full fill there. I'm only seeing 69% energy in that Sheldon van der Linde car that just pitted. So they might have tried to run long and then did a short fill there to try and gain back a little bit of time in the pits.
That's an interesting tactic, if indeed they have done that. Philippe Eng is down to 1%. And let me see where he is on the track. He's just coming down through Rady Curve at the moment, so he will have to peel in this time around. He gets to the left-hand side of the circuit and through turn 10, peels off left-handed. That is as close as I have seen anybody cut this into a pit stop. The end of the race, yes, but to a pit stop, he's got 0.8 of 1% left as they come in. They are pushing it really hard. Arjuna Kankapati watching the M Team WRT stop.
And so as the driver change process works through, Philipp Eng jumps out, and in straps Marco Wittmann. I've got to say, John, we have been talking about this Evo update to the M Hybrid V8 not maybe being so much of an improvement over one lap. Where we have seen the improvement is over the entire stint, and they've not just had good fuel mileage, they've had great pace as well so far at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, as we finally just wait for the final bits of the pit stop to roll through, John.
I think that was right-hand side Michelin's only there, Arjuna. They had time to do 4, they've chosen not to. Just 3 sets of tyres from qualifying through to the end of the race for the GTPs. The 25 car is down and away, and Marco Wittmann then will rejoin. Hello to Vincent in Derbyshire. He says, is the Sports Car Championship different to the 6 and 24-hour races? All part of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. There are effectively 2, well actually call it 3 different championships that run in the season. 4 tyres, by the way, I'm here confirmed for M-Team WRT. They just did the left-hand ones really quickly. We have the Michelin Endurance Cup, Vincent, for the Rolex 24 Daytona, the Mobil 1 12 hours at Sebring. Next up we'll have Sirlin's 6 hours of the GLEN, and then we have a brand new 6-hour race at Road America, and then of course Motul Petit-Le-Mans 10 hours as the leaders come down to the first corner. And that is Sheldon van der Linde going wide just a little bit. Earl Bamber, the Kiwi, looking up the inside in the red and white Cadillac. BMW, Cadillac, that's your top 3 together. Hope I answered that for you, Vincent, as the action got hot and heavy. Top 3 then, heading to the bottom of the hill and turn number 5. How close do you like it? BMW, Caddy, Sheldon van der Linde, Earl Bamber, Jordan Taylor. Through turn 6, the rear halt straight. Traffic ahead, looked like the 13 Autosport machine ahead of them. Looked black and gold. No, sorry, it's the 120 right Motorsport Porsche. How wrong could I be? Not the right colour, not the right manufacturer. So pit stops, BMW Team WRT. Ryan Marine said he thought they short fueled that car for the road position, track position. So they were some 9 seconds quicker, but they do not have as much fuel on board as the second place car. Meantime, BMW number 1 is in the pit lane. Neil Verhagen out of the lead of GTD Pro. We'll watch that as we hear from Harry King out of the AO Porsche number 77. Nick Tandy's taken that one over. How was Sketchy going in the first part of the race, Arjuna?
Pitted from second, Harry King did. How was that first hour and a bit of the race?
Yeah, no, it wasn't too bad. Starting on the second row from 4th, inherited a position from the Ford from East. I don't quite know what he was thinking with the hypercar there, but yeah, the outcome was great. Made up some good progress. Of course, now the pit stop cycle is going to come through. We'll find out exactly where we stand, but the car performance from AO felt really good. The balance I'm quite satisfied with. So yeah, let's see what comes of it.
Did you have any interactions with the GTD cars? Because some of them were saying they were running over some of the GTD pros.
I was just ahead of them, but I see some of the GTD cars were quite quick. I knew that if I fell backwards in the field, I'd be susceptible to them, so obviously that was the focus, but I was looking at the front windscreen majority of the time, that's for sure.
Good side as well. Thanks, Harry.
Thank you.
Battle for the lead on the front straight-ish at the moment. Earl Bamber looking at the back of our leader, Sheldon van der Linde. Interesting technical manoeuvre there, and will that be our BSI nose strategy, BDO nose strategy call, as off for the number 5 Porsche, Lauren Heinrich. How unusual is that for the JDC Miller Motorsports car? Worked its way up to 4th position in the 963, and he went off at the exit of turn 3, the exit of the Andretti hairpins. Ryan, just the thought again, a car struggling on that downhill braking area. Talked about it in the Brembo brake facts. The change between front balance and rear balance on the brakes as you're braking downhill or braking uphill, really have to get that spot on. Interesting tactical move though by BMW Team WRT with that number 24 car that leads to get them out in the lead. They did not fully fuel that car.
Exactly, really slick calculations too. They knew exactly how long they could be stationary in the pits, release Sheldon and come out in front, because they came out right in front of a hard charging Earl Bamber with Jordan Taylor on his heels. But that's worked really well. Now, they'll take their medicine later because Bamber presumably could have a shorter stop later on in the race. He's at 82% energy effectively. Van der Linde is at 58. Taylor in third. They're on a third different strategy that resembles the BMW strategy to some degree. They're at 56% energy. Remember, they short pitted, came in quite early in the sequence, and so we're going to have to try and fight their way back up, but doing the best they can strategically.
Turn 2 has caused another issue and claimed another victim. Drivers left coming out of turn 2 to turn 3. Matthew Bell, 13 Autosport, and the black and gold Corvette is 3/4 facing the wrong way to drivers left on the way to turn 3. Looks like he might have looped it coming out of turn 2. The dust settles. We're staying green at the moment. By the way, the Conquest car has officially been listed as a retirement, the number 34 Ferrari 296. We race on for the moment. And there's the full course yellow. An hour and a half to go. So just on an hour and 10 minutes into the race. Steam emanating from the engine compartment of that Corvette number 13. Chance to say hello to a Portuguese watching from Berlin, Germany. Hello to Jose Vasco. And one of his favourite tracks. Oh, rear end completely locked up on that car, Ryan. Looks like something might have given way in the transmission of that number 13 car. Battling, of course, in the Bronze Cup to get a Le Mans invitation for next year. And Lauren Heinrich, I think we mentioned he'd gone off. He went a long way off. He'd gone much further. He would have had to show his pass to get back in. But I did not like the look of those rear wheels locked on Matthew Bell's, then he said AWA, 13 Autosport Corvette. Safety car is out, and it is the Porsche safety car that will pick up BMW Team WRT and Sheldon van der Linde. Ryan.
This comes in at an interesting time for RLL Team McLaren. They were on a different strategy and were really low on energy. They're shown as in the pit lane right now, and I fear they've had to come in for emergency service. So they were trying to do something different after their unexpected pit stop earlier in the race, and I think they get caught out by this yellow unless they snuck in right as the yellow came out, but I don't think they did. We'll try and get some confirmation on that. Should also note that the lead has changed in GTD Pro, with the 4 Corvette of Katzberg now leading the 1 BMW that was started by Verhagen, and Conor De Filippi is in the car. So that's the Katzberg car that Tommy Milner started, and they owe a pit stop. They're on a different sequence as well, but actually they're in a pretty good spot, comparable spot energy-wise to the BMW behind, which appears to have short-filled during that most recent pit stop.
And a short fill for Dries Van Toor, and Sheldon van der Linde has seen them jump to the lead here at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Does this caution hurt or help you, though?
To be honest, I just asked. I don't know, actually. I don't think it's that favorable for us, but I could be wrong. Hopefully I am wrong. But nevertheless, I think we did a good first stint, and I don't think we are looking too bad, even though we short-filled a bit. But I think we are there. So let's see. A lot can happen still. It's still 1 hour 30 to go. No, 1 hour 26. So a lot can happen still.
This new Evo update, we've come back to the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. You were on pole position here last year. How do you compare the difference in the car?
Yeah, it's obviously we still have to fine-tune it quite a bit still. I think in our race runs, or let's say in the race, it should normally favor us more compared to qualifying. I think in qualifying we lost a little bit compared to last year. But nevertheless, you know, you don't win the race being on pole. So we saw that last year. As long as we can win the race in a race, I'm happy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In the early hours of Saturday morning, the motor racing community got the news that on Friday, Alex Zanardi had died. Just 59 years old, the Bologna native, with an inextricable link to WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, and to the Corkscrew, pulling off the overtake that is known simply in motor racing circles as the pass. After a horrendous accident at the Lausitz Ring, he refused to give up, fought his way back to motor racing in touring cars and GT using hand controls for BMW, won races in World Touring Cars and contested the Spa 24 hours. After that, he still wasn't done. Designed and built his own hand cycle and qualified for the Paralympics for his beloved Italy, taking 2 gold medals in the London Olympics and 2 more in Rio. Sadly, whilst out training a few years ago in Tuscany, he was involved in a road accident which put him into a coma for quite a long time, but even then he refused to give up. The man was a champion in racing, in Paralympics, in life. The word legend has never been more appropriately used than that for Alex Zanardi, who died on Friday with his family. Our condolences go to him and to his family, should I say, and to everyone who knows him. What a loss to the motor racing community. Just a fabulous, fabulous gentleman who always had a smile on his face, Alex Zanardi. And there's a lot of heavy hearts around this paddock this weekend, thinking of Alex. Think of some good memories of Alex. That's what he would have wanted. And may his memories be a blessing. He's not left us. He's just gone 1 lap ahead. An hour and 24 minutes to go. And we are under our first full course yellow. Clouds gathering here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. We're waiting for the pits to open for GTP, and let's see who takes that. Hello to Courtney Jordan, who's just tuned in, to Stephen Linds from Gainsborough in the UK. My goodness me, how many people tuned in today as well. Watching for the first time on YouTube, says Charlie from Derbyshire. Wasn't expecting a British commentator. Where have you been since, what was my first year in the American sports car? 1998. I've been calling these races. Arjuna, take a deep breath. You've got pretty much all of the GTP field.
And I was wondering if it might just be a splash of energy for some, but there's plenty of tyres on the pit wall as well as the crews get to work. But for the BMW team WRT, given the short fill, no surprise to see them just putting the fuel on. It is going to be, though, Porsche Penske Motorsports by somehow able to jump to the front. Through pit stop perfection, Penske once more jumps to the lead in the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Charlie was asking about the illuminated numbers on the side of the car. Not the car's numbers, but what does it mean? It's how long they've been standing in the pit lane or their position in their class. Now, it looks like there might have been a little problem on that pit stop as the new Michelin's went on to the number 40 Cadillac. Oh, yeah, they didn't get the rear tyre out of the way, the one coming off, and I think they've damaged the rear side pod there. So multi-function, Charlie, in Derbyshire for those illuminated number panels. If you go to IMSA.com, all of the uses of that are shown. We've got one of our Ford Raptors on the circuit at the moment, the official truck of WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, with the blower, taking the opportunity to get some of the rubber debris off the track. We'll open the pits this time around for the GT cars. Ryan Marine here in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. You surprised that all of the GTPs came in?
A little bit, because we're not in a window where they could make it the rest of the way. I was thinking the same thing for GT, but looks like it's about to get busy for Arjuna once again.
And here they come, John, led by the Pratt & Miller number 4, slightly off sequence, of course. This will help them get back on the same page with the rest of their competition. For the GTD contenders, remember, a lot of them pitted 45 minutes into the race, so they'll need a substantial amount of fuel compared to some of the GTD Pro contenders, such as Sketchy and the Paul Miller Racing BMW that had only just come in. But because the Paul Miller BMW had short filled on their own, it's Sketchy that's going to win the race off of pit road, followed by the Vassar Sullivan Lexus. Meanwhile, in GTD, it's the Heart of Racing Aston Martin first, and a very close fight sees Turner Motorsports jump in front of the Wayne Taylor Lamborghini.
Magic stuff by the crews. We talk about motor racing being a team sport, and whether it's preparing the cars, running the cars, setting the cars up, Ryan, but we see it in the pit stops, don't we?
Oh, it's huge, and it's not just the strategy, but it's the execution there. That pit stop from Turner to get them ahead of Wayne Taylor's Lamborghini, that was really big. Arjuna was exactly right on Paul Miller. They were in a world of hurt here. They short-filled on that stop under green, so they had to put a lot more energy back into the tank during that stop than most of the other front runners in GTD, and that caused them to have a much longer stop than their opposition. Opposite story in GTP, where we've seen a change at the front. Felipe Nasser for Porsche Penske. We were wondering how they got there. They short-filled by about 10%, and I don't think Renger van der Zande and Meyer Shank needed as much fuel as some of the front runners there, so they were able to jump to second. Really interesting to see the strategies converge around this pivot point of a full course yellow, and it's really shaken up all three classes.
Take a deep breath, everybody, because we still have 80 minutes of racing to go. Elliot tuned in, says he's got his friends Kieran and Jack in Bedfordshire watching along in Milton Keynes, right in the centre of the UK. Wanted to ask, says Cameron Reid, have you guys at the Ford Global Racing Centre got any childhood treats, it being the throwback weekend at all? Mine are fruit pastels. Oh, I see what you didn't mean racing treats. You mean sweeties or candies. All right, Ryan, throwback weekend, not motor racing. What are your favourite memories from your childhood of candy or chocolate bars that you used to get then?
I was a Reese's guy.
That's a great question. I love that.
Love the combination of peanut butter and chocolate. That's probably my go-to.
And what about you, Arjuna? What takes you back to your youth when it comes to candy?
Slightly controversial topic here, but I firmly believe American chocolate isn't as good as some of the things you can get around the rest of the world, John. But a Mars bar, picking one of those up at a gas station, that's my childhood memory right there.
You're never going to get an argument from either Kerry Cobb or the responsible adult Eve Hewitt for Reese's peanut butter cups or Reese's Pieces. There was an amazing raisin bar in the UK when I was a lad that you don't see anymore. And hello to Katie Brennan, hello Katie, long time no speak. Corey Ryden is listening in at the moment, and he loves hearing me say Frankie Montecalvo. Well, there you go, I've done it. Let's do our Pelotti mid-race recap. 59 laps completed. Felipe Nasser leads at the moment. One caution, the one we're on at the moment, for 4 laps so far. 2 cars out of the race, and they are significant. The Conquest Racing number 34 Ferrari which was leading GTD at the time it came into the pits and retired. And Felipe Albuquerque was behind the wheel of the Cadillac Wayne Taylor Racing V-Series R, the number 10 car. Both of those cars confirmed now as official retirements. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get into us for a little chat. And that was our Pelotti mid-race recap. Behind the Apple Computing throwback livery safety car, Porsche GT4 by the look of it, it is Felipe Nasser in the number 7 car that leads. And while we're talking about interaction, all of those of you who are tuned in now, when we finish the World Feed TV, we will continue for Michelin post-race tech on RS2, which you can access through imsaradio.com and the Listen Live button. If you'd like to be a part of that, hashtag Michelin PRT to @IMSA on X. Let's have your questions, points of rising, observations, whatever you have. Let's have those for the roundup race. We'll have some interviews from round at the Victory Circle area. Aaron will make sure that we're still going to air, as will Curry, and we'll have Arjuna, Ryan and myself answering your questions. Ryan Walker says, what about Rolos when it comes to chocolate or sweets in general? Just never a big Rolo fan, to be honest. I used to like the proper old-fashioned Bassett's Jelly Babies, but they've all gone natural now, and they don't taste the same. Only natural flavours, no additives. Maybe I was addicted to the additives and the E-numbers when I was younger. Whole different story. Let's get back to racing here at the WeatherTech SportsCar Championship, 4th round of the season, and we're going back to green with an hour and 15 minutes just under to go, and Felipe Nasser hits the right-hand pedal over the top of the brow and down into the hairpins at turns 2 and 3. Porsche Penske Motorsport leading by half a second across the line. Renger von der Zande for Acura in second, Cadillac in third. 3 different manufacturers in the top 3. Earl Bamber's number 30, Cadillac in third, has the fastest lap in the racing class, 1:15.315. The countdown starts right now, so what have we got? 74 minutes. I mean, you could split that in half and do about 40 minutes and 40 minutes, but in reality, Ryan Marine, you've only got about 20 minutes maybe to go before you're in the window to make your last pit stop for the GTPs.
Less than that. We saw cars go just under an hour with still energy in the tank in that opening stint. So if you are taking a concerted effort here, I think anywhere around the hour mark you can feel reasonably comfortable for these cars. Now again, Nasser got to the front by short filling during that most recent stop. This is the first time we've seen the Porsche out in front. We'll see how long he can keep it there. Interesting to note, I think Wayne Taylor Racing tried to do the same thing with the 40 of Jordan Taylor, but remember, they had the hang up on the left rear tire, and that really cost them, because now they're going to need more energy in their next stop, and they didn't get track position because they had a slower stop.
Yeah, very good spot there. Side-by-side action. Lamborghini Temerario and the number 1 of Connor D. Filippi. That was the battle for 4th position. Andrea Caldarelli is not ready to give that up in the sky blue. Lamborghini made its global racing debut at Sebring in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship through turn 4. And the number 4 Corvette, Nicky Katzberg's got a great view of this. He tries to sneak up the outside into turn 5. The outside pass is on there because it's a bank corner, and the throwback livery from 2000 is right with trading, in fact trading vinyl with the Temerario. There's going to be a little bit of blue on that yellow and white Corvette, and sitting in behind them is Dennis Olsen in the Ford, or is that Fred Vervish actually, as they come and again trade paint or vinyl at least. And they're still doing it through the corkscrew, down through Rainey. Is the damage now to the Temerario? As through comes the 64, it was Dennis Olsen, and behind that, the number 59, Nikita Johnson, RLL Team McLaren. What a story it's been since RLL, the Real organisation, has taken on the McLaren to run. Oh, Sunday afternoon, and it's getting all arms and elbows in the GTD Pro Class. Ryan Marine.
Fight down to the Andretti hairpin. Ford versus Chevrolet, and it's the Ford to the inside. That's Olsen trying to get around Katzberg, and he's got that pass made, although Katzberg's going to try to fight back to the outside. However, inside line to the Mustang, just behind. Esterson, like you say, in the McLaren for Rahal. They did enter a closed pit, so they had to come back in. So, excuse me, not Esterson anymore. Now Nikita Johnson behind the wheel. So now, any hope of doing it strategically is out of the way. They have to come to the front on pace, and right now Johnson's looking threatening.
Oh, sorry, yes, I'm supposed to talk at this point, aren't I? I'm absolutely enthralled with this battle. It's a throwback weekend, and I am transported back to the old GT1 days when we had 4, 5, and 6 cars line astern just like this right here. And it was Magnussen and Brabham and all those drivers, and it's absolutely as I remember it. This is brilliant stuff. Nick Tandy leads in GTD Pro. There's a little cheer from the middle of Bedfordshire from Felix and the rest of the Tandy family. Ben Barnicut in second for Lexus, half a second back, and then Alexander Sims, then Paul Miller Racing BMW, and this scrap behind him with Ford, Corvette, McLaren, Ford and Lamborghini. And Andrea Caldarelli must feel as though he's lost out there, because he was sitting, what, 3 or 4 places further up the field when all of this started, and it was pretty physical, Ryan.
Oh, it was. It really started with Connor DeFilippi trying to muscle his way back up through the field. He got around Andrea, and that left Andrea vulnerable then to the challenge from the Corvette. And that led to a quite a lengthy side-by-side in which they swapped paint, what, 2, 3, 4 times? Pieces of bodywork going off the 2 cars as well. Caldarelli definitely got the worst of it.
Tristan Smith is enjoying this close quarters battle with his dad in South Africa. Hello to everybody there, celebrating your drivers in this race and just enjoying what we've come to expect from GT racing, which is slightly physical. I wonder if Nicky Katzberg might have attracted the attention of race control in that number 4 Corvette Racing by Pratt Miller, running the 2000 Millennium yellow and white colour scheme. It's been done down to a T as well. Even though some of the sponsors have changed, they've got some of the names down the side, either of the drivers or the venue here, in the same typeset as the partners at the time would have had. Renger van der Zande looking at the back of Felipe Nasser as they charge down through turn number 9 into the bank to right-hander at turn 10, now into the slowest corner on the circuit, down through the box. Bing, 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 bing. Pick up the throttle coming out of there. The far from straight start-finish run under the Mission Foods Bridge, over the brow, through the kink at turn 1, down through the gearbox again. Those gears going in like rifle shots there on the number 93 Acura. We are going to miss this little 2.5 litre V6 engine. No, it's distinctively different from everything else out there. This is their last season in IMSA. Pulling away at the end of the year, as confirmed by David Salter, the man at HRC US, across whose desk all of this programme has to pass. He hasn't written off the potential of some private cars, but not in IMSA, interestingly, in the Asian Le Mans Series. Right, let's check in with some other battles. Fred Shandoff, Inception Racing Ferrari, looking at the back of Philip Ellis in the Winward Racing car. They could do with a good, actually both of those cars, Ryan, could do with a good result this weekend. Fred Schandorf in the Inception car. Brendan Arib started the race. They are the leading Bronze Cup GTD car, and that's important for points and for their Le Mans invitation, potentially for the 24 Hours of Le Mans for next year.
That's right, that's the coveted Aiken Award. Brendan Arib has won it before. That's the teammate to Fred Schandorf, and Brendan did his part. Kept that car on the lead lap, kept them in contention. Once that drive time was complete, then Schandorf has climbed aboard and done a nice job to drag that car up to 5th. One quick note, though, on the car that's 6th, Aaron Thielitz, that car has had not 1 but 2 drive-through penalties. They've been in the pits 4 times in this race, and yet find themselves in the top 6 in class with just over an hour to go.
Our pole sitter Louis Delatraz had an interesting first stint when the other Cadillac of Whelen Engineering saving a bit more energy than you. How was the first stint for you behind the wheel?
I think, you know, we set up the car pretty aggressively. Obviously, it was very fast on 1 lap. Maybe a bit too aggressive in hindsight for the race pace because I had a lot of retired egg. So basically, the first 10 laps were fine. I was in control, saving energy, but after that, I had to push because my tires, my rears were gone and Jack's not, so he had a bit the edge over me on that side. But yeah, it's part of the game.
Is there anything that you can do during pit stops, make any adjustments behind the wheel to try and dial that balance back to where you need it to be?
Making adjustments for sure, especially with all the systems I have in the car. I think I was trying to fight it, but you know, when the rear tires are gone, there's not so much you can do. Now, obviously, we're starting quality tires, so they have a bit more wear. Jordan took 4 new tires, should be better, but that yellow was very bad timing for us. We are big on the back foot now. Hopefully, the lock turns around and we can be back up front. Thank you. Thank you.
Really good question from Solarain in Serbia. Are there any differences between the GTD Pro and the GTD class cars, or is it just the driver's skill? Good question. The performance potential of the Porsche or the Lexus or the Chevy Corvette or the BMW is any of the manufacturers exactly the same between the 2 classes. It is purely the makeup of the driving talent. So obviously in GTD Pro, the name is the hint there. You can have a full pro team. In GTD, you must have silver and bronze drivers, silver or bronze drivers there. You can still have a pro driver, but it is the make-up of the driving talent that makes the difference as to which category the cars go into. Speed-wise, performance-wise at least, the cars are exactly the same. So the balance of performance, the homologation, the performance potential, absolutely identical. So really good question there from our Serbian correspondent at IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch. Felipe Nasser leading, 3/4 of a second ahead of Renger van der Zande. Earl Bamber in 3rd place, Porsche, Acura and Cadillac. In GTD Pro, EO Racing, Nick Tandy by ½ a second for Porsche, ahead of Lexus and Ben Barnicoat in 2nd, and Alexander Sims in 3rd for Corvette. Then BMW and Ford Mustang, so 5 different makes in the top 5. And in GTD, Tom Gamble leads for Hartner Racing Aston from the BMW of Turner Motorsport. That's Robbie Foley, 27 from 96. Trent Hinman in 3rd for Lamborghini Huracan. Winward in 4th, Ferrari in 5th. 6th is Lexus, and 7th. So the top 7 are different manufacturers. Make that the top 8, because Porsche are in there as well. Callum Island in 8th position. Fred Vervish in and out of the pits. That will be, Ryan, I reckon, his last pit stop.
Yep, I was about to say the window has just about cracked open. That looked like fuel only for Fred Vervish. So what they're hoping for now is a safety car before the rest of their class, or at least most of their class, pits, because that would allow them to catch up. Others ahead of them would need to pit. They would cycle ahead to the lead. Now, though, that they've done that, I guarantee everyone up and down the pit lane has been looking at that too and thinking, okay, we're vulnerable the longer we stay out, especially in the GT classes. We're a little more marginal on the window for GTP, but I'm curious to see who blinks first.
And Arjuna, that didn't look like Michelin tyres were offered there for the Ford.
Can confirm it was fuel only, and Ryan is right on the money as well, because there are some pit crews who are going up on the wall and getting ready, but 2 cars coming down pit lane. I don't think this is necessarily tied to that. The RLL McLaren is in, as is the fast Lamborghini Temerario, joined by one of the Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillacs. Louis Delatraz did tell us that they weren't necessarily happy with the timing of the caution. I think they're doing the same as what Ford did with the 65 and trying something different to give them a potential if the safety car does come out.
Rather a jaunty angle for the sky blue number 9 Temerario. That will be Andrea Caldarelli's last pit stop, and GTP stops as well, Ryan.
Yeah, like Arjuna mentioned, this is Wayne Taylor Racing trying to roll the dice with the 40 car that was caught out by that last yellow, and they didn't do a full fill during that yellow, plus had a delay on the pit stop, it would have appeared. So that meant now that this final stop, they had to put more energy on than just about anybody else is going to. So my read of it is the only way this works for them is if they catch that yellow here before the rest of the class pits.
Felipe Nasser then, what is the strategy of Porsche Penske Motorsport and Acura Meyer-Shank and Cadillac Whelen? Porsche Penske Motorsport, Ryan, have the opportunity to split strategy here between Nasser and Vanthoor, first and fourth.
Yep, they do. They have that ability with 2 cars running up toward the front. They're in a similar position in terms of the energy still available to them. Both short filled on that recent stop to get a little extra track position under yellow.
Pratt Miller in with the number 4 Corvette. That was the car that Nicky Katzberg, I think, brought in. Yes, it was. Arjuna in the pit lane.
I think, John, not only does Nicky Katzberg show the scars of that fight with the Lamborghini Temerario, both sides, the dive planes have taken some damage, and on the right side, I think they were ripped off completely. But on the Pfaff Lamborghini Temerario, the right front has actually been pushed back in. We saw a really physical fight on the last restart, and we are seeing potentially some of our teams now having to struggle to the end with a lack of downforce at the front.
So, are we going to get a clean run to the flag? And is this where we see the relative performance of the GTPs, the GTD Pro and GTD drivers and cars? A little earlier on, a bit of a side swipe on Aaron Tielitz at the top by one of the GTP cars, in for the number 24 BMW, Sheldon von der Linde, South African driver in the pit lane. A lot of people tuned in South Africa this evening, as it will be for them. I think South Africa's, is it only an hour ahead of the UK, but still reasonable time in the evening. Hope you've had a good day wherever you are in South Africa. Has it been good enough to have the braai on and have something nice? Thank you for being with us. Coming up to just before 11 o'clock in the UK, just coming up to midnight in Central Europe. Those of you in Australia, early morning, perhaps catching this before you go to work. Due if it's a holiday weekend in Australia, it's in the UK and Europe. Bank holiday Monday coming up. Don't forget, hashtag Michelin PRT for our post-race show. Your questions, points arising, anything that you've noticed or want answering, we'll try and get the answers for you. This has been mega racing, absolutely mega racing. In comes the heart of racing. Tom Gamble, driven 27, came in out of, I think, 4th place in GTD. That looked like fuel only as well. There were tyres on the wall, but I didn't see any of the team over the wall. So this is interesting, as the teams are cycling through Philip Ellis has made his last pit stop for Winwood Racing as well, and is back up to speed, and he's been dropped into a really nice open space on the track, Ryan. The opportunity for Philip Ellis to do what we know he can, which is drive that AMG very, very quickly.
That's exactly what they want him to do here, and I'm sure that's part of the reason they called him in while they did. They can see they've got some technology that will project where you'll come out vis-a-vis the traffic, and if they feel like they can send him out in a clear track like this, maybe they can get this undercut strategy to work, especially if they're not changing tires. There's no warm-up process really to get these tires up to temp. And on the tire subject, these are like the third pit stops for a lot of these front-running cars in the GT classes. We came into this thinking they might have 2 sets of stickers sitting around going into the race, plus the qualifying tires. If they've already done a couple of pit stops, they've pretty much burned through those tires. So unless they've kept a few in reserve, and it looks like Turner has, they're throwing stickers at the right side of their BMW. That could be an edge for them, but some of the other teams might have run out of that precious commodity just because of the number of stops we've had, which is abnormal.
Well, the GTPs are running on the Michelin mediums here this weekend, the new for 26 Michelin mediums. And a couple of weekends ago at Imola, Kami Kobayashi's Toyota hypercar, which you might say actually is harder on its tyres than the LMDH GTP regs cars that we have here, because it's got drive from the front wheels as well as the back in certain situations. That did over 100 laps in race conditions on the Michelin mediums, and in fact they were going to send him out for the last 28 laps on the same tyres, but they just didn't know, they didn't have the data. They put him on a set of softs. They're allowed 2 different versions of the Michelin tyre there, and he actually wasn't as quick on the softs, the new set of softs, as he had been on the 104, 105 lap old mediums. So tyre longevity, impressive. No news from race control on the Temerario and Corvette. It has not gone under review. Thomas Richer in Germany asking about that. We've been watching that very carefully, Thomas. Hadn't ignored it. And nothing on the race control channel to suggest that that is even being investigated at the moment. GTD leader, Trent Hinman, in the Lamborghini Huracan, second for Fred Shandoff, and importantly leading in the bronze class. Right, front of the field coming in, here's the Cadillac Whelan, number 31, the mainly red car, Earl Bamber, the affable New Zealander, into the pit lane. This will be his last stop as well. Fuel hose goes in for VP Racing Fuel, topping up the energy. Ryan, not even a thought of putting new tyres on that car. They didn't even look at the tyres to say, oh, look, we better have a couple ready. That was fuel, VP fuel only, and gone. And that was pretty impressive. They've topped him up to 92%. So that was a timed stop on fuel there for Correct. 53 minutes. They did not fill the tank.
Exactly. They knew exactly how much energy they needed to go the rest of the way. Probably did the calculation that, assuming they had tires, and they might not have, that was their third stop as well, but if they did, they might have done the calculation that it would take too long, or at least it would be too much of a risk, too many variables to throw a couple of tires at it. Just do the simple thing, put the fuel in that you need, and turn Earl loose, especially if they can put him in clear track right now. They should be in pretty good shape. Again, they need less energy than the leader right now. So really, I think the fight we're watching is between that 31 that just pitted and Renger van der Zande in the 93.
One of the early troubles was for Rory van der Stor in the Aston Martin. A little bit of damage at the rear, saw him have a mechanical black flag, forced to come back to pit lane. Rory, what happened?
Yeah, just first lap, got hit in the rear, and then the deck lid came up, and one of those days. We'll see what happens. I mean, there's still a good amount of time left. But yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, it is what it is, but we're just trying to claw back now. They have a decent car, as you can see, the heart of racing in the lead essentially, but man, it's a frustrating one for sure.
Yeah, we can definitely tell you're a bit dejected, that you think there's a bit more performance. You're back on the lead lap, though. In your first full season in IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, how have you been finding the competition overall?
It's great. Everybody that's driving is fun, fair, fast. So, yeah, it's definitely a challenge for sure with all these guys and girls. So, we'll see. If we get a solid result here in the next 40 minutes, we may be able to salvage some points for this weekend and go to two of the next stronger tracks for the Aston at Watkins Glen and Canadian Tire. So we'll see. If we can come out of here with maybe a top 6, that would be amazing after what happened today. But yeah, like I said, the two next tracks are the best tracks for the Aston, so we'll see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So getting some news from the pit lane, thanks to Aaron, our Concord NASCAR Productions voice in our ear. No tyres for Phil Ellis. He's dropped down to 7th in GTD for Winwood Racing, but his last pit stop is completed. I reckon he is 1, 2, 3. I reckon he's 4th of the guys who have done their last pit stop. Oh, actually, no, because I'm counting some GTD pros there as well. I reckon in GTD, he might be 2nd amongst the GTDs that have done their last pit stop, as Fred Shandaff comes into the pit lane for Inception Racing to do his last pit stop as well. 50 minutes on the nose to go. No tyres for Shandoff, just VP Racing Fuel. Our friends at Michelin, Ryan, must be absolutely delighted at the longevity and the performance that they're getting out of the GTD and the GTP tyres. I mean, it's kind of counterintuitive that a tyre company is happy that they're not using all the tyres, not selling all the tyres, but with 50% renewables on the GTPs, it has been Michelin and IMSA's project to cut down the number of tyres that the teams have available to them in these races, in all of the races.
That's right, it's part of both the series and the tire makers' various initiatives. And to speak to how the quality of the tire and the pace that's still available on a used tire, I'm watching Earl Bamber's lap times, because he just came in and did that pit stop. No tire change, remember. He was running 3rd at the time, about a 2nd or 2 behind Renger van der Zande. Well, on the old tires in clear air, he was running mid-116s on the most recent lap. Renger was up in the mid-117s. So this is really good for them on their strategy. Didn't have a whole lot of ground to make up, and they might be doing it with the undercut if this pace disparity in favor of Bamber continues.
It's Ryan Marine. He's with me, John Hindhoff, in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. There are a lot of headlines to resolve here. I suspect that none of the reporters are inking anything in, if they did that nowadays, typing anything in bold, let's say. So still to pit, I reckon, are all of, well, the top 6, I reckon. I reckon the first car that can go to the end is Earl Bamber at 48 minutes to go. Everyone else is at 50% energy or under. And 50% energy, that is going to be tight to get 47, 48 minutes from the top 6 in GTP. In GTD Pro, Nick Tandy leads with 60%, 59% for Ben Barnicott, Alexander Sims, 59. We're all in the same sort of area. What can they eke out? In terms of time behind the wheel, they will not, with it being as tight as it is. The top 4 in GTD Pro, that's Nick Tandy for Porsche, Ben Barniger for Lexus, Alexander Sims for Chevrolet, Corvette, and Conor De Filippi for BMW. They are separated by, well, actually add Dennis Olsen into that because he's only a second further back. That's 1, 2, let's call that 3 seconds for that battle in GTD Pro. Meantime, in GTD, Aaron Thielitz and Callum Eilert having a good scrap at the moment. And Scott Andrews is not that far back either, another 7 seconds further back. Now, here's Renger van der Zande, 49% on his virtual fuel tank, and the Phillips 66 and 76 Petroleum supported Acura is in the pit lane, and this time, Arjuna, there are tyres coming out.
But only right side tyres, John. I think they are recognizing they don't have the time to change all 4, and they only need those right side working tyres. Off and away, a great pit stop for the 93. Let's see where they fare out compared to the Cadillac Whelen 31.
That's very impressive indeed.
But
that
the 31,
was again,
John.
I reckon again that's it. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan, my fault.
31 got the jump, it's through. So Bamber running in clear air, running mid-116s lap after lap after lap, while Renger was running slower laps. That really worked, the undercut for the 31, and also coming out on tires that were already pre-warmed. There wasn't that warm-up phase. Now, with Nasser needing a longer stop, I think Bamber could be in a really good spot here with 45 minutes to go.
Well, I tell you, if either of those have got the calculations wrong as Vantor comes into the pit lane. So Van der Zande 77.8% and Earl Bamber 77.5%. So the calculations are roughly similar. They're sitting 6th and 7th at the moment, but everybody ahead of them has to do their last stop, and Lawrence Vantor is in for Porsche. So a timed stop again for the Acura, the difference being they worked out they had time while the VP Racing Fuel went in to put on right side Michelins. In GT, we've got the GTD 4th place Lexus in the pit lane. Aaron Thielitz is getting much more of a full surface, certainly left-hand side tyres. And yeah, they put all 4 on that. Just seeing the right-hand side tyres coming through. Hello to Dejan and Lazar from Serbia. That's another Serbian shout we've had this evening. Endurance racing stretching across borders and the global community that is IMSA Radio, part of the Radio Show Limited network of channels. Over on RS1 next weekend, Friday and Saturday. We'll have WEC, World Endurance Championship Round 2, Spa-Francorchamps. Practice 3, qualifying and the race. Qualifying and the race exclusively live and free across the world. Join us for that. And then the following weekend, there's a number of drivers here that we'll be talking about with 161 starters at the ADAC 24 Hours of the Nürburgring. Extended programming starting with a special midweek motorsport a week on Wednesday, and then sound and vision coverage Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And then we're back on IMSA duty. There is literally no rest all the way up to Le Mans, including Le Mans Test Day on the Radio Show Limited network of audio and visual channels. Grant Westman spots that Phil Ellis is likely going to end up 3rd in GTD. I think it might be 2nd, actually. But I'm just looking at the cars ahead of him. This has been... I'm going to need to break this down afterwards, Ryan, and look at the playback on the timing and scoring, particularly from our colleagues at Al Kamel. And by the way, you can follow along. Just put live timing at IMSA in. And you can see all the information that we've got, including the virtual fuel tank and the telemetry coming out the GTPs and the GTDs. Just to see where the strategy's played out. We haven't really talked that much about the BDO North Strategy Award for this race. Our Porsche keys to the race was the tyres. How would they get on? Well, that's been great. Penalties, keep them down. The guys in the front have. Just a little run on at turn 1 for Felipe Nasser in the lead. First time we've seen that this weekend. And get the strategy right. And, I mean, this has been fascinating to me, Ryan.
And we don't know yet who's got the right strategy exactly, but the way it looks to me, Earl Bamber, Whelen Engineering, and Cadillac, they seem to be in the catbird seat. They're the first of those that have done their last pit stops, and Earl is turning some pretty good laps right now. Nasser, Wittmann, Heinrich, they're all pushing for all their worth right now, trying to build as much of a gap as they can in preparation for the final stop. But the thing to remember is Nasser needs more energy to go the rest of the way than the bulk of the rest of the field. They got to the front because they short-filled in that most recent stop, so it's going to be pretty difficult for them to maintain that advantage that they've built so far.
Here's Trent Hinman in from the lead of GTD. Right Motorsport will cycle to the front with Callum Islet, but he needs to make the equivalent stops. So does Scott Andrews in the number 19 Van der Ster racing car. So that leaves Tom Gamble and Fred Schandorf and Phil Ellis to be first, second and third. Maybe. How quick have they turned that 45 around? Where are the other GTD cars? Heard an Aston Martin Valkyrie scream through. Leader comes out. Well, Islet's gone through. Andrews has gone through. There's the Aston Martin of Hartner Racing going through. No, hasn't gone through. So the 27's dropped in behind. So there we go. That is a race to the finish from there. So Tom Gamble for Hartner Racing dropping in behind that Trent Hinman, Wayne Taylor Racing. And that is the battle, I reckon, corrected. That will be the corrected battle for the lead.
Yes.
So those cars, both of those cars, the Lamborghini and the Aston, are battling. So Tom Gamble now effectively in second, but a great turnaround by Wayne Taylor Racing has put Trent Hinman out in what will be the lead of that race. Arjuna, you've just been watching a Porsche stop.
It was right side tyres for the number 7, and I was looking at lap times, John, to try and understand the call from Earl Bamber and the Cadillac Whelen crew. The number 7, its fastest lap is 7/10 slower than what Cadillac Whelen have been able to put together. So by dropping into that clean air, Earl Bamber's been able to punch in some amazing lap times and soar to the net lead of the race.
Ryan, am I reading? I am reading that right, aren't I? Wayne Taylor Racing have brought in Trent Hinman 66.5% against Tom Gamble's 71%. So again, that was a timed stop to get the Dex Imaging Lamborghini back out. Third right now in GTD, but that will become the lead because Scott Andrews in the other Aston and Callum Islet, I reckon, still have to stop.
Exactly right. That's how it should shake out in GTD, and a lot of that comes down to Hinman, the laps he was able to turn. It was a gamble to keep him out as long as they did, because if there had been a yellow, he would have been cycled back, but there wasn't one. He was quick in his time in the car, and that helped them then use the overcut to leapfrog, plus the fact they didn't change tires again. Tires were already warm straight out of the pits, so normally you see a car catching a car out of the pits and you think, okay, cold tires, they'll make the pass. Harder to do when those tires are already up to temperature and you're double stinting them, as was the case for Hinman.
Right now, the battle for the lead on track is Marco Wittmann in the BMW coming down towards turn 10, the right-hander, right in his wheel tracks. Lauren Heinrich, they'll both peel in this time, I think. Oh, Heinrich goes to the inside. That was still part of the racetrack. He tried a little cheeky move up the inside there. Tom Blomqvist will take the lead if he stays out. I reckon he might come in here. So Earl Bamber has cycled back to the lead of the race in the number 31 Whelen Cadillac. pit stops for these two cars. This will be fuel only, Arjuna, and it will be a timed stop.
No choice here. They've got to try and gain that track position back, and so indeed it will just be the fuel only, as off and away goes the BMW. How close is it on the merge on pit exit though, John?
About a car's length, which is exactly what it was when they came in. And Marco Wittmann, Lauren Heinrich rejoin. Tom Blomqvist still scored as the leader. And as they come out, where is Earl Bamber in the 31? He is ahead of both of them. And behind them both is Renger van der Zande. So on corrected positions, Tom Blomqvist in the lead, but needs to pit the number 60 car. Earl Bamber leads the motor race, I reckon, for 31 Whelen Cadillac, ahead of Marco Wittmann for the 25 BMW Team WRT. Then JDC Miller's Lauren Heinrich is in third. Then Renger van der Zande for Acura Meyershank Racing, fuel to the end. Then Felipe Nasser. Then Sheldon van der Linde and Lawrence Van Tor, etc., are all fueled to the end. We are only waiting now for Tom Blomqvist to pull back into the pit lane. The question for me will be, how quickly can they turn around that Acura, and how little fuel do they need to put in it? They're down to 36%, everyone else in the low 60s. So they need to put about 30% in there. Are they going quick enough to make up a position? 1:17 flat last time around for Blomqvist, a 16.7 for Earl Bamber in second. Ryan Marine.
Yeah, really, I don't know that there's any way that Blomqvist can hang on to the lead. It's only 24 seconds, as you say, first to second, so it's a matter of where he cycles in otherwise. Really, this whole sequence was set up by what these teams did during the last full course yellow. Penske got some track position by short fueling, but we said at the time they're going to have to take their medicine later. Well, they took it there. They needed more energy. It made for a longer final stop, and look how that's cost them as they've cycled back now. The 7 that had been leading is down to 6th, which could become 5th depending on how long Blomqvist's stop takes. But look, and conversely, JDC, they did a full fuel fill on the last stop. They took their medicine then, but a short fill right here has them potentially on the precipice of a podium.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. In GTD Pro, Nick Tandy in EO Racing, 2 seconds to the good now over Ben Barniker in the 14. Vassar Sullivan, 42% and 40% for those two. Alexander Sims for Corvette in third, 41 and a half. Can they go to the end? Do we reckon that those GTD Pro cars are fueled to the end? It's going to be tight if they are.
Wow. That is tight, and just listening on board to Alexander Sims, you could hear a big lift phase into the brake zone. Let's see, they've been out, how long's it been? I gotta refresh this page. They've been out for 46 minutes. They would have to go another 33. Now, some of that was full course yellow.
No.
That's a lot to ask without another yellow, but clearly there is some fuel save, so maybe they're going to try.
So the best off on energy are the two Fords. Frederick Vervish on 54%, Nicky Katzberg on 58% in the Corvette number 4. So Katzberg in the 65, sorry, one of the Fords, that's the 65, and the Corvette, they're 7th and 8th at the moment, but they have got getting on for 20% more fuel, more energy, should I say, than all of the cars ahead of them. That might have been a master stroke from the Ford number 65 and from the Corvette number 4.
It could. They pitted really early in this sequence, so, I mean, the other thing that they're in a position to capitalize should a full course yellow come out. The thing that's working against them is just how far back they are relative to their class leader, but you know, they can push here, whereas those in front of them seem to be saving some fuel, so maybe they can eliminate some of that gap. Maybe they can be in a position to take advantage.
In GTD, Callum Eilert for Wright Motorsport, they've got themselves ahead, but they've only got 35%. I expect to see that car coming in shortly, as in comes the Ford Racing number 64 Ford Mustang with Dennis Olsen at the wheel. We'll watch these battles in GTD and at the front of the field as we go down to speak to Dudu Barrichello, who is with our Arjuna Kanka party.
And leading the championship coming into this round of the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. But Dudu Barrichello, you're getting your first taste of an IMSA regular race, 2 hours and 40 minutes. You started the car off. How did your stint go?
Well, it was pretty interesting. We have a lot of degradation in the tires in this track, which is, I think it makes it quite interesting. It's not very enjoyable to drive at times, but yeah, our car is looking strong. And we've been doing such a good strategy. I think everybody from the team has done such a good job. And yeah, I don't really understand how we fell to second right now, but we're trying our best. And as you said, we came into that race leading the championship, and we're just trying to score as many points as possible. And that's what we're trying to do.
You're juggling both World Endurance Championship commitments and your championship run here in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, but you're prioritizing your focus here in IMSA, aren't you?
Yes, 100%. It's quite nice, and I'm very fortunate to have both of these opportunities. Tonight I'm actually grabbing a flight to go to Belgium because we have the spa round next week. So yeah, but at the minute I'm really focused on IMSA. I've been loving IMSA so far. I love the American way of racing, and yeah, I'm just really fortunate to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What a young talent that driver is, Dudu Barrichello. Famous name. We've got a Barrichello and a Patrese in the race this weekend, and they've been battling it out at the sharp end of the field. Right now, we're trying to crunch the numbers for particularly GTD Pro. That's the interest for me. I think all of those top cars, Ryan, down to Frederick Vervisch, who's on 49%. Nicky Katzberg might be in the best position with over 50% energy still remaining and half an hour to go. There's a slight problem with the GTDs and the GTD Pros in that they don't actually know when their race is going to end, because they might be having to go around one more time if the leaders are right behind them when the checkered flag comes out. But that said, I cannot believe that Tandy, Barnacodes, Sims and Felipe, even on max fuel save, are going to be able to make it another 30 minutes to the end, considering how long they've been out. I mean, Tandy's been out well over 30 laps already. In fact, they all pitted at the same time, didn't they, those leading four? So
it's been 51 minutes.
It's not impossible.
It's been nearly 52 minutes. And again, some of that was under yellow. And if this whole stint has been dedicated to saving
only
fuel...
2 laps, though.
Right. If the whole stint's been dedicated to saving fuel, maybe they know something we don't. But that seems to be what they're trying to do. And we should throw Callum Eilert into that equation as well. He's in a bigger energy hole than those leaders in GTD Pro.
Yeah.
But clearly that's what Wright Motorsports are trying to do as well. He and Scott Andrews are the only two on this fuel safe strategy in GTD. Assuming they can't make it, Trent Hidman is the leader on the road. Duda was wondering how they got behind Trent, and I think it was Trent's pace on the undercut that got them that track position there. But yeah, really, really interesting to see how this plays out over the final 27 minutes. Oh, and by the way...
Well, also they needed slightly less fuel.
That's right, that helped too. By the way, you were wondering about could Fred Vervisch make it? I think absolutely. He and Katzberg pitted roughly the same time.
Yeah.
They were kind of the first to commit to this pitting strategy rather than the fuel safe strategy. And I think with 45% energy still in the tank, 27 minutes to go, they should be good to go.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm going to say 2 words here that apply to this place, and that is Richard Westbrook. Years ago in the Ford GT, we absolutely thought he had to stop, and that's where the whole pink fluffy bunny slippers came from that we talk to Richard about every time we see him. He had the lightest right foot in the world. Every single team up and down the pit lane were expecting him to stop, and he made fuel. Absolutely incredible, and that was right here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Before we get into the last 20 minutes, let's take some more interviews from the pit lane. Arjuna, who have you got with you now?
Well, one of the teams I think got most impacted by the timing of the caution, Paul Miller Racing. Neil Verhagen, is it as bad as we thought it was?
It's definitely not ideal right now. We need a little bit of luck to fall our way to keep us up here right now, but then we're going to keep our fingers crossed and see what we can do.
Any chance of making it to the end, or is that a dreamer's hope?
I think it's a little optimistic right now without a caution, so we'll see what happens.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
And while we're talking about fuel saving, Ryan, thank you, Arjuna, Tom Blomqvist in the number 60 Acura MICHELIN car. Remember, that car had problems early on, dropped all the way to the back of the fields. That's the orange, black and white car. They're down to nearly 20%. Now, they can't make it on that. However, they have got, what have they got? 26 seconds of a lead. That's just dropped down from what they had before. 1:16.8. No, that was a reasonable lap for them. They can't get in and out if there was a safety car or a full course yellow. But that would certainly help them if they could anticipate one, because obviously the pit lane wouldn't open straight away, so they'd have everybody behind them and nobody else would want to stop. It would have to be a long yellow, I think, at 20% for the Acura MICHELIN Racing Acura number 60 to make it to the end from here. They will have to have a splash of VP fuel somewhere.
I would agree with that. They're in some trouble, but again, they were spun around early, had some misfortune early, so they've been just trying to be different than everyone else basically all race long. Back to the comments though, Arjuna got there from Neil Verhagen. Of course, his co-driver is Connor De Filippi, part of that group at the front of GTD Pro where we're wondering, can they make it? I would not call his opinion sanguine, John. He did not seem that optimistic that they'd be able to make it work. And
No.
if that's true for the BMW, then you got to wonder about the Porsche, the Lexus, and the Corvette as well.
Well, Tom Blomqvist is not exactly hanging around. Of the top 6, he was the quickest car last time around with a 17 flat. Everybody running at least a second or more, 1.5 to 2 seconds slower than their fastest laps of the race. He has 50 seconds between himself, as we've just turned 100 laps with Tom Blomqvist, and Earl Bamber. That is pretty tight. He might be able to get in for a splash of fuel, you know, and get. I'm not sure he can hold the lead, but he's got 1:15 to Marco Wittmann in the BMW in third. I think he can get in and out in that. He might still have a podium, even with a green flag splash.
He might, and that could be their thought. Meanwhile, battle for a podium position, we think, as Lauren Heinrich has caught Marco Wittmann. It was alongside momentarily. How about this drive from Heinrich and JDC? JDC Miller Motorsports, what a result it would be. Heinrich, who's been drafted in from the factory team, joins this operation for the first time at Long Beach. They used an alternate strategy which relied heavily on Lauren's pace to make up some ground, and here this stint has been all about what Lauren could do, putting the pace in. They came in right behind this BMW, they exited the pits behind this BMW, and now Heinrich appears to have the bit between his teeth. This, we think, should cycle through to be the battle for third once Blomqvist pits, possibly. Depends on where Tom filters in, but really, really fascinating here, and great to see this JDC program coming to life mid-season.
It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That's the battle for a podium position at least. Lauren Heinrich just, I mean, he's breathed new life into that, and we talked about this earlier in the weekend. If you weren't with us on our radio broadcasts, just remember, by the way, that for every IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship race. We cover every single session in audio. We switch the cameras on for the qualifying and the race, of course. But the earlier sessions, free practice 1 and 2, we have for you as well on the audio-only side via the RS2 on the radio player at imsaradio.com. I mean, it shows to me that Porsche are taking a real interest in John Church. He's the JDC of JDC Miller, and John, lovely man, pushed really hard to get Max Esterton in the race car last year at Motul Petit Le Mans, and what an opportunity that was for Max. He's now gone on to McLaren and RLL. We've had Timon van der Helme with them for a couple of seasons now, but Porsche jumping in. I don't know what that says about the future, maybe for Porsche Penske Motorsport in this championship, although it is my understanding that Porsche Penske Motorsport have got at least one more year. The WEC part of Porsche Penske Motorsport was terminated at the end of last season, and I think part of that was adding some extra time onto what we've got at IMSA. There's nothing that says that Porsche won't be back in the WEC, and Roger Penske absolutely wants to win Le Mans. It's probably the only major motorsport event that the captain does not have on his racing CV, on his palmarès. Incredible racing at the front of the field. But Porsche, as I said, Ryan, getting really, really interested in that JDC Miller car, running to a 2025 spec, so a slightly different homologation, different weight limit, and paying dividends at the moment, because that car is the best of the Porsches.
That's right, it can still help them going for the Manufacturers' Championship, so it does behoove them to help the program out. And I mentioned it during a practice session earlier, my understanding is with Lauren Heinrich comes a little bit more of a technical tie-in as well between the customer and the factory team. So we'll see if that continues to pay dividends. So far, so good, running just off the podium as they run. But I'm just captivated by what's happening in GTD right now, in GTD Pro. So much fuel save. We've had a couple onboard shots of lifting coast. Now a little bit of muscle here from Alexander Sims. He's going to fight with Ben Barnico for position, and Connor De Filippi is there too.
That is the battle behind Nick Tandy, who's 2.5 seconds further round the circuit for this battle for second in GTD Pro. I just wonder, with the lap times at 25s at the moment, most of those cars can do high 22s or early 23s. When will they get the tick in the box? When will they get that lovely call that drivers love, going up the hill and weaving side to side the Lexus of Ben Barnicoat? Now, Ben's raced here a while, and you are not allowed to move in reaction to the car behind you. That could be looked at as blocking. I get a little warning for that, just to let him know that race control are looking at that. It all started all the way down into turn 2, little bump and run from the Corvette, and that was through the Andretti hairpin. Corvette's trying to get through, and subsequently making that pass. So the Corvette then of Alexander Sims up into second, Barnicoat in the Lexus in third, De Filippi in fourth. Callum Islet is sitting just behind them, trying to get a draft. All of those cars now under 20% of energy, with 17, call it 18 minutes to go. That is tight. Very, very tight. Let's go to the pit lane. Now, Arjuna Kankapati has the ability to ask the questions, the difficult questions, and get the truth out of them. It's hypnosis or truth serum. We're not entirely certain. He won't tell us his exact strategy on this, as the Dex Racing number 45 Trent Hinman is right in behind Nikita Johnson at the moment. That's a pass for overall position, but not class position. More importantly, it looks like the McLaren is just holding that Lamborghini up, and the 27 car of Tom Gamble behind. That is a battle for what we think will end up being the lead. So let's go to GTD Pro and find out what's going on at the leaders. AO Racing, Nick Tandy, 2.5 seconds lead. Has he got the fuel to get to the checker, Arjuna?
There's not many drivers I think you'd want other than a multi-time 24-hour race winner to lead you at this point. But John, the word from the pit wall, 8 minutes short for AO Racing, and they are 3% better on energy, and even with all that lifting and coasting, to be almost 6 laps short of getting to the checkered flag, that's asking for a lot of help even from a safety car in these closing stages of the race.
And he has, Nick Tandy has by far the most, by the better part of a couple of 3%. He has the most energy of those top 4 cars. So if he can't make it, none of the cars behind him can, Ryan, and neither can Callum Island. So Ford and Corvette in Vervish and Katzberg are absolutely in the conversation here. It also means that Scott Andrews has got to pit next time around, or the one after, because he's in the red now. He's under 10%. But if Tandy can't do it, Sims, Barnicat and Connor De Filippi and Cullen Island can't do it either.
I agree. I think that says everything we need to hear, that without a safety car intervention, they can't make it. And from the lead of the race overall, the 60 is in the pit lane, John.
Let's go to Arjuna. They were playing the strategy game, rolling the dice. They come in with just under 7% of fuel. This will be a very short stop. We'll keep an eye open for Earl Bamber as Arjuna Kankapati describes this stop.
I've got my stopwatch ticking away. There's not even a thought of tires here, John. About 8 seconds, and off and away the number 60 goes. That's all the fuel they need to reach the checkered flag.
It's going to be tight. Earl Bamber's just coming to the line now and passes the car in the pit lane that he needs to pass to win the race, but they've got a shorter run round the inside of the Andretti hairpin. Bamber is through. Bamber is through into the lead, and also through is Marco Wittmann. Also coming through on the inside of turn 3, a huge move from Lauren Heinrich, goes up into 3rd position, and it will be 4th for Tom Blomqvist. They've splashed to 28.5% and dropped from 1st to 4th. They played the game. They were hoping for something that would help them out, some yellow. But they are now on the same fuel strategy, the same tyre strategy as everyone else in that top 4 or 5. And so the GTP battle, as we always say, the stagger has unwound. And right now, that is a genuine battle, with Earl Bamber leading from Marco Wittmann, Lauren Heinrich and Renger van der Zande, with Tom Blomqvist having slotted in there and down the inside. Lauren Heinrich wants to upgrade his position and goes through on the BMW. A little bit of hip and shoulder at turn number 10. But that takes Heinrich up to 2nd. JDC have not won in the GTP era. They have won in the past in the top class, but not, Ryan Marine, with this type of car.
No, what a remarkable achievement. Just to finish in 2nd place would be, they are David going up against a whole field of Goliaths, and the slingshot's been pretty darn accurate here today. This all started with traffic, out-of-class traffic. Wittmann caught Tom Gamble, tried to go to the inside, but there was no room to go there. Heinrich saw it around the outside, which then became the inside. It was muscular, but it was fair, and he is through.
Where are we going to send the BD? Oh, there was definitely a touch or two coming down through Rainey and through turn 10. But the pass was made. Where are we going to send the BDO Nose Strategy Award? There has been an awful lot of tactics played here, gentlemen. I'm going to throw mine in straight away, and I think it has to be the JDC car. They put timing in earlier on. They were running 10th at one stage. They have worked their fuel strategy and the pace with Lauren. They're second at the moment, chasing down the leader, 3 seconds. But that is mine. I would certainly say a honourable mention to a number of the GTD teams. Certainly Tom Gamble and the Heart of Racing team, Fred Scharndorf at Inception. They've all done the right thing, as of Winward as well, actually. But if Callum Eilert and Right Motor, I know Callum's got to come in next time around, so has Scott Andrews. One BD or No Strategy Award. What do you reckon? I'll go to you first, Ryan Murray.
I like the JDC call, but if I'm going to look for anything else, how about what Wayne Taylor Racing has done in the GTD class? They took some risk by going with the overcut. They were vulnerable to a full course yellow, but they gambled, and then Trent Hidman had the speed to help them jump that Aston in the pit lane. It left Dudu Barrichello wondering, how did we end up second? Well, it was strategy and it was speed. Great combination for Wayne Taylor Racing, and it might give them a win.
Yeah, the 120 Right Motorsport Porsche in the pit lane. Now, yeah, it was close, but close was enough in the favour of the number 45. A little stall from the Right Motorsport 120. Scott Andrews in the pit lane as well in the Van der Steur Aston Martin Arjuna. We'll watch the stop. Your BDO Nose strategy nomination could be from any of the 3 classes.
I think I'm going to go with the Ford Racing number 65, because remember, they got involved in a bit of contact with the Porsche Penske GTP machine and got a penalty for that. But despite all of those struggles, they have been able to nurse this strategy to what could end up being a class victory at the GTD Pro class at a track, John, where the initial Ford Mustang GT3 was definitely not at its best performance.
Yeah, this Evo's worked a lot better. Well, a second place in GTP at the moment, a potential win in GTD Pro and GTD. Those are our nominations for the BDO No Strategy Award. We've got just on 10 minutes to go. We'll make our decision and announce that at the checkered flag. And don't forget, on Wednesday in our midweek motorsport show, we'll also have the CrowdStrike Endurance Teamwork and Speed Award. That's data-driven. We'll crunch the numbers and give you the winners there as well. Whelen Cadillac, they're leading the race at the moment. They've got to be in with the conversation as well. They have run a very good race indeed. I've been enthralled by this. One intervention by the Porsche Apple Computer liveried safety car, and what we are seeing here, Ryan Marine, is genuine pace as Felipe Nasser and Lawrence Vanthoor and the 2 Porsche Penske Motorsports circulating together at the moment. They look great, but 6th and 7th for the 7 and 6, not what they wanted. But we have had great racing through the classes today in a relatively clean race that has shown multi-class racing and the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship in a very, very good light indeed.
It's been great fun. The racing's been good, but the strategy's been excellent. The timing of that last caution was phenomenal from a strategic perspective, because it really put you in one of 2 camps, and you could really talk your way into either way to approach it, especially in the GT classes. And a good chunk of the GTD classes, you know, they elected to do this, expecting another yellow, I have to believe. 8 minutes to go. My rough calculation is they're still a couple minutes short, but look at what Nick Tandy has done. He still has 5.5% energy left. Is that going to be enough, though, to make it to the finish?
Conor De Phillippi has pulled out of 4th position. Arjuna is watching it. This could be swinging the way of Frederick Vervisch and Ford Racing number 65, Arjuna.
It was only 6 seconds worth of fuel though, John, so we are getting down to very small amounts needed, and all the lift and coast that Nick Tandy has done, if the magic number was 8 minutes left on the clock, he's already been able to save another 60 seconds or so. But I am seeing AO Racing get on the wall, getting ready for Sketchy to run down pit lane.
7 minutes 13 to run, 4.5% from Nick Tandy, just 2% from Alexander Sims in second. 1.6% for the car that's put the fastest GTD Pro lap of the race in. And both first and second in GTD Pro are on the lane. Now, where is Frederick Verviche in the number 65 car? He's coming out of the final corner now. He is going to take the lead. The question is by how much? This is going to be splash and go. And our tuner is watching.
It's the race of the pit crew here. Both of the fueling members having to wait to jump over the wall, but it's Sketchy that goes off first. A very quick stop for the AO Racing 77.
The Ford has gone through. It has gone through Frederick Verviche and Nicky Katzberg. We mentioned them about, what, 45 minutes ago. And they are now first and second. Ford Racing and the 65 Mustang GT3 with 12.8%. Now, have they got their numbers right? Nicky Katzberg is closer to 16%, which is where Alexander Sims has just been fueled to. There are 6 minutes to go, and it's all still to play for. Incredible stuff. 1.3 seconds between Earl Bamber and Lauren Heinrich at the front of the field. It's Heinrich on a charge. He's just taken 9/10 of a second out of the leader. It's not even half a second now as they're through the Andretti hairpin with traffic ahead of them, GT traffic ahead of them. Could it possibly happen for John Church and JDC Miller Motorsport? Heinrich has target acquired here. The opportunity of a traffic-assisted pass. He's right on the tail. Looks up the inside to turn 5. Up the hill. There's nothing between them. Put the stopwatch away right now, Ryan. This is all about two fabulous drivers, Earl Bamber and Lauren Heinrich, and two great cars, Cadillac and the Porsche 963. This is a fight to the finish.
And it's not about fuel save either. They're basically even on energy the rest of the way. This is a straight-up fight between one of the established stars in Earl Bamber and one that is rising to its zenith right now in Lauren Heinrich. Fantastic stuff with 4.5 minutes to go.
Heinrich thinks about the look down the inside the final corner. Can't make that one happen. Across the line, looks like the Cadillac pulls out the slower corners a little bit better, but the Porsche has slightly better top speed, closes back in again under braking. The concertina effect goes to the high side, the right-hand side, through the Andretti hairpins, through the kink at turn 3, and again looks for a over and under, tries to get down the inside. He's blocked off by the Whelen Cadillac. Really smart driving, defensive driving from Earl Bamber. He put his car right on the apex of the corner and lifted off. This is incredible. What a race we had here last year, but we've turned this one up to 11. Crank it up again. Frederick Verviche, by the way, is leading Nicky Katzberg by 0.6 of a second, and Verviche is just taken half a second out of the leader in GTD Pro. Trent Hinman is the only class leader who has any kind of cushion whatsoever. The good news is I don't have to talk very much tomorrow because I'm not going to have any voice left. This is incredible racing. IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. The IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca, once again giving us an absolute grandstand finish. 2 more laps, I reckon, for the leaders. The leaders in GTD Pro are just heading up the rear hull straight now and into the corkscrew. Heinrich looks racy, looks like he's got good grip as well from his Michelin tyres. Tries at turn 3. Ahead is the Mustang number 16 of Felipe Fraga, the Myers-Riley Motorsport car. Will that be a factor as they dive down to the left-hand side into turn number 5? Heinrich does not get the move done, and he's dropped 2 or 3 car lengths, but I do think that Porsche 963 is the quicker of the 2 cars right now, Ryan.
Sure looks that way. He might have a little more life left in those Michelin tires, and he's on the attack, but does he have enough time? Time is running out now in this pursuit of the first GTP win for JDC Miller.
It's going to be tight to it, being white flag this time around. 1 or 2 laps to go. 2 minutes on the clock. I think there'll be another one after this. I'm looking across towards the starter stand as they come by. It's got to be in the twisty stuff. No white flag, no white flag. So it will be next time around, and a huge amount of traffic in front of them. Earl Bamber now will not be happy seeing all of these GT cars, and they're all battling together as well. He covers the inside at turn number 3. Lauren Heinrich tries to go around the outside. Bamber moves across to cover into turn number 4. They'll start climbing the hill from turn 5, but here's the traffic. 3 across the track at one stage there. They both get by. Now here comes Bamber. Is he going to block? There's some smoke coming out. Bamber goes to the left of the turn of BMW. What a move by Bamber! What a move by Bamber! Used the Lexus and the turn of BMW as a pick, but he's got smoke coming out of the back of that car, and he's just locked up the left rear as well. I don't think that Cadillac is all it should be. Has there been a little touch on the bodywork that's put it onto the left rear Michelin tyre? White flag this time round, Ryan, and I don't know who's going to win in 2 of the 3 classes.
I do think there is left rear damage to the bodywork of the 31. He just needs to hang on to it for 11 more corners. Just 2.2 more miles. Can Earl Bamber hang on?
Well, I'm not sure he's aware of what's going on there. We're keeping an eye on Frederik Vervisch and Nicky Katzberg as well. They're only half a second apart, and it's side by side again coming out of the Andretti hairpins to turn 3. The inside line has been taken by Earl Bamber in the Cadillac. They're still side by side going into turn 4. There's a little bit of an overlap. Yes, there's a little bit of bodywork that's folded back. The little cheese wedge on the left-hand side by side going into 4 and 5, and it is a pass for the lead. Heinrich has got it done. He had the grip coming out of 4, has to defend now. Bamber is deciding that he's got to fight back. But how much damage is there to the back of that car? Incredible stuff. A mile or so to go at the corkscrew. Bamber is dropping away. We are about to see victory, at least at the line. I'm not hearing anything about race control looking at any of the battles at the front of that class. Onto the start-finish straight for the last time. Tijmen van der Helme started it, and Lauren Heinrich finishes it, and it is a first win in the GTP era for JDC Miller Motorsports, the 2025 version of the Porsche 963 by 3/4 of a second at the end. Let's quickly pick up, Ryan, with the GTD Pro battle that's heading up the hill now.
Well, both of these cars had a disastrous first 20 minutes of the race. Remember the penalty for the Ford for the contact with one of the Porsche Penske cars. They had a drive-through penalty. We heard from a forlorn Tommy Milner early in the race after they were damaged and delayed early in the race, and yet they played this strategy brilliantly, about to take it home 1-2 with Ford ahead of Corvette.
Just too much room for a dive at the final corner. Incredible stuff. 2 of the 3 classes are going to be separated by under a second. And Ford win at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Frederik Vervisch breaking records on the Nürburgring Nordschleife recently, now stands on the top step of the podium for the number 65 crew. And the new Ford Evo is on the top step of the podium. Absolutely outstanding stuff. And let's not forget the GTD winners as well. Danny Formal started the Wayne Taylor Racing Dex Imaging Lamborghini Huracan, and Trent Hinman finished it off. That is the old version of the Lamborghini now, with the Temerario in this race, but there's life in that old bull yet. Arjuna Kankapati has reaction from some of the winning teams. Where are you, Arjuna?
I made my way to JDC Miller Motorsports, the elation, the tears. John, there is so much emotion here. 5 years after the last win for JDC Miller Motorsports, John Church is a winner once again. He's just trying to help Lauren get his way back into pit lane. John, what does this mean to you and the team?
Oh, this is absolutely incredible. What a day, what a day. I mean, this kid is incredible. I mean, the drive he put on and did everything right. So couldn't be happier for the whole team. The whole team did an awesome job.
We're glad to have you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. This is so special.
He deserves it so much. Arjuna, pat him on the back for me, will you? I had a really good chat with John around Motul Patilamon, and particularly after Motul Patilamon. In fact, he sat and watched the Bathurst 1000K with me as well. Lauren Heinrich with that win goes to the head of the GTP drivers' points by 21 over Jack Aiken. Then the two Porsche Penske Motorsport Porsches. We have just witnessed history, Ryan. You pointed out that JDC Miller Motorsports are really now the only privateer running a top-class prototype in competition around the world.
This, John, is what the rules makers hoped for when this new GTP era came up. They hoped that manufacturers would have a car that would be there for customers to be able to buy and run and compete at a high level, just like it was in the original GTP era in the 80s and 90s. We really haven't seen that by and large, but this goes to show that a well-run team with the right drivers and the right technical partnership with the manufacturer can win at the highest level of endurance racing. Well done to JDC.
In GDD Pro, it's the Milner and Katzberg, Nicky Katzberg and Tom Milner, a Corvette that leads by 51 points from the number one BMW, Conor de Filippi and Neil Verhagen. AO in third place now, 63 points back from the lead, and 74 points back the winners this afternoon, Fred Vervish and Christopher Meese. Chris Meese now with Arjuna.
I don't know if that was necessarily on the cards around halfway through this race, but Christopher Meese and Fred Vervish bring the Ford Mustang GT3 Evo to victory lane here at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. What an up-and-down race for you, Chris.
Oh, it's amazing. Honestly, I'm so proud of the team. I already had a good qualifying yesterday, had a great car, thanks to them, to the boys and girls. And obviously, we were running P3 during the race and then had kind of an eventful moment with the GTP car there. And whilst I don't agree with the penalty, it kind of helped us in terms of strategy. So yeah, again, like Bruno, our strategist, did an amazing job to bring us back to the lead, and we gambled. It could have been also the other way around if there would have been a late yellow, but I'm super happy that we, after Daytona 24 last year, finally get another win.
If this was meant to be the weakest track of the previous generation car, does this give you and the team a lot of confidence for the rest of the season now?
I mean, obviously we brought the Evo for a reason. Still, we didn't expect to be completely up front here. And if you see the pace from the cars behind, they probably had a bit more in it. And we were just lucky to gamble and that there was no late yellow.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well done to them. The GTD unofficial points due to Barrichello for Harter Racing by 140 from the 96 crew from Turner Motorsport. Then the Vassar Sullivan crew from the number 12, and 200 points back now, the 57 Windward team. Just want to say a quick hello to all of the R at WEC Discord group as well. Thank you very much indeed for all of your comments. Unofficial results then at the WeatherTech SportsCar Championship, StubHub Monterey, 2 hours and 40 minutes, and Lauren Heinrich and Timon van der Helm will be on the top step of the podium from the Cadillac of Earl Bamber and Jack Aiken. What a battle. The lead changing on the last lap. BMW in third position, for Marco Wittmann and Philip Eng. The fourth different manufacturer in the top four, the number 60 Acura. They rolled the dice and they very, very nearly pulled it off. We'll do the rest of the results in a moment, but let's hear from the winning drivers from JDC Miller Motorsports with Arjuna.
Lauren Heinrich, what a move on the last lap. You set that one up through traffic. How good was that JDC Miller Motorsports car in only your second race here with the team?
I mean, the car was such a joy to drive. You know, Long Beach was a great start. It was a very short weekend. You know, it's not easy to get to know even the names on the team in 2 days. So it was a good base, you know, to have a good start here. And, you know, as you can see, the guys that didn't make it easy for me. Mega fight with Earl. You know, it's an honor, you know, for me to fight with him because I followed his whole career when I was not professional yet. And to go, you know, side by side with him and door to door around Laguna Seca in a GTP car, you know, that was so much fun. And as you said, I mean, the JDC car was amazing to drive, such a joy. If you have such a good car around the Laguna Seca, I mean, I wish it would be a 24-hour race today.
You're now the championship leader with your third win in a row here at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. But you raced the first two races of the season with a factory Porsche team. You're with a very different crew here, and you have already paid kudos to their efforts. But it's a very different operation behind the scenes, even for you bringing your Porsche factory experience, right?
Yeah, well, some experience that I can build on definitely from very successful Daytona and Sebring, but still a lot to learn for me. And I really like the dynamic in the team. You know, we can contribute from each other's experience very well. You know, the team has a lot of experience with the 25 car. I can bring some experience from the factory team, and you know, the hard work has paid off.
Congratulations, Lauren.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great win for them. It's Ford Racing and the 65 in GTD Pro. Trent Hinman, Wayne Taylor Racing in the number 45 car. Oh, that was brilliant. And they are our BDO Nose Strategy winners. They pulled the pin early and pitted. They finished with 5% of energy, and they were the only one who had any kind of gap back to the rest of the field. Had over getting on for a minute and a half. So the number 45, Wayne Taylor Racing, Lamborghini Huracan for their pit lane strategy, win BDO Nose Strategy. Let's hear from the GTD winners. Here's Arjuna.
They are not just our GTD winners, but BDO No Strategy Award winners as well. Trent Hinman and Danny Formal. I'll start with you, Danny. You started the car, and after starting in second at Long Beach, were you happy to be up front and still contending halfway through?
No, for sure. I want to, first of all, thank Wayne Taylor Racing, Dex Imaging, Lamborghini for this amazing machine they gave us this weekend. Since Long Beach, we've shown that the car is great, and we roll off the trailer really good. We did a small shakedown here last week, and I told the team, guys, we have a good machine, and we just executed this weekend, really, from practice one all the way through qualifying. You know, we missed that pole by 0.03 of a second, and yeah, my stint was kind of a management, see what we were, how we were doing, and yeah, gave it to my teammate Arnold here, and Trent did a fantastic double stint, and the guys called the perfect strategy. The guys at the pit stops did a great job, and yeah, it's an awesome feeling to win again with this awesome machine, and share this win with Trent again, and everyone in Wayne Taylor Racing and Dex Imaging.
A great strategy, and Trent, I just saw your watch. Average heart rate of only 150. Seems like you were quite calm behind the wheel of the Lamborghini Huracan.
I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say normally I run at a high RPM, so that'll be my excuse for the day. No, it's just an incredible day. It got pretty dicey there with some of the interclass battles, and then obviously cars on other strategies, maybe just trying to gamble on strategy to the end. So just staying patient was the #1 thing. I was getting great information from the pit box, the guys at Wayne Taylor Racing. I was really on them the whole time, so I apologize for blowing out their eardrums at times, just figuring out where we were and what our plan was. But they walked me through it step by step, and gave me all the confidence in the world. Obviously, the car was bad fast. Danny did a great job. Just super proud to be a part of the effort.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Oh, brilliant stuff. And our BDO No Strategy Award for GT goes to Wayne Taylor Racing in GTP. It is also the winners, JDC Miller Motorsport. A brilliant combination of strategy and speed. And interestingly enough, our GTP and GTD classes both won by the outgoing cars, the 25 Porsche 963 and the Lamborghini Huracan. Stay tuned for Michelin post-race tech on RS2 IMSA Radio.